Back at Talladega, take a look at our starting grid. For the first time in NASCAR history, Toyota sweeps all three top starting spots. And the biggest irony, all three of those drivers, Michael Waltrip, Dave Liddy, and Brian Vickers, failed to qualify for this race back in the spring. Now, our in-race reporter today, well, who better to tell us about this place and what it takes to win here? The young man named Earnhardt. Dale Earnhardt Jr. starts 26th in the Budweiser Chevy.
Hey, Dale Jr., Rusty Wallace, ESPN, you got us?
10-4, Rusty.
Hey, Dale, you won here 5 times, and you definitely know how to get around this racetrack. But, you know, now we got the car tomorrow for the first time ever here at Talladega. Hey, man, with all that said, what's your biggest concerns about that car here today?
Well, the bumpers are so flat on the front of the back that when you bump a guy, you actually have a lot of material beat. And you can steer a guy around because there's so much mass material that's touching each other. And that's a little disturbing, but otherwise, I'm just going to drive her like I always do and try to get to the front, learn what I can about the draft. If there's anything different the cars do when they're in the middle or they're on third lane or whatever, I'll move around and see what the car is capable of doing, what lane seems to be the preferred lane as far as being able to move forward. But I think the slingshot's back. I think you're going to want to be just inside the top 5 on that last lap to have a shot to win. Probably not want to be leading the race.
Hey, Dale, a lot of drivers are talking about can't see out of the back of these cars too good. And the guys in the back looking at the car in front of them can't see their hand signals. Is that a bothersome problem there?
Yeah, but I do that coming, you know, we all do that. The way this car is with the wing and everything, you aren't going to be able to see. So it's not something that I'm going to get too upset about now because it's already part of the deal. I can see out pretty good. The one thing that I worry about, and I can't, like for Robbie in front of me here, I couldn't see him if he's waving at me. He's waving for me to stop pushing him, or he's about to run into somebody or back off a little bit. I can't see him waving. And personally, for anyone behind me, I wear the white gloves on the super speedways just to give the guys a better opportunity to see the hand signals that we're giving each other. And that's made it even more difficult with the mounting of the wing and where it is. But the size of the car itself, it is a little big. You want, like I can't see none of the corner going up behind Robbie here. There is a crash. The guys get together. My reaction is going to be hampered a little bit by the visibility, but hopefully by the spot of TJ Majors on top of the game today.
All right, buddy, you have a safe race. We'll talk to you during the race, buddy.
We'll see.
Calling his shots for Dale Jr. today for the final time in 2007 will be his cousin and crew chief, Tony Uaw Jr., who will leave this team after today and assume his new duties at Hendrick Motorsports. Let's visit with Tony Jr.
Hey, Tony, Andy Petrie up here. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Hey, pretty good, Tony. You spent a lot of years at DEI, and this is it, man. It's your last day on the job. How much does it mean to you to try to take this team and share victory lane with all of your guys there?
It means the world, I mean, but honestly, Wednesday was probably the toughest day. You know, all the people there at DEI, they've been real supportive of my family the whole time I've been there, and got me to where I am today. So it's really tough Wednesday driving in that place, driving out knowing it's going to be your last time. But you know, hopefully they can be proud of me each and every week while I'm over at Hendricks. You know, because you know, I'm a creation of their company, and I'm just looking forward to the future. And it'd be awesome to come out here with a win for them.
That's good to hear, Tony. I know you guys have spent a lot of years together, and you want to celebrate tonight in victory lane, but you got this race to worry about. You got this car tomorrow, and you got a lot of unknowns here, like fuel mileage and tire wear. What kind of strategy you got here?
I don't think it'll be a whole lot different from normal. You know, it's just a matter of you making the right decisions when to be up at race and when not to. But you know, we'll probably take 2 tires a lot of the day. You know, we just need to be in a position where we got 4 freshmen on here at the end. You know, we'll just kind of play it out, see how it happens. But it's going to be a long day, and just kind of got to stay out of trouble. Hopefully, we don't have to dig them.
10-4, Tony. It's going to be exciting. Good luck.
All right, thanks, dudes.
Tony Uaw Jr. Say goodbye today. You see how emotional he is about what's going to happen here today. Well, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was the best we've ever seen at this racetrack. And as you look at Jr.'s numbers, easy to see that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. 5 wins to his dad's 10, and he was very confident that win number 6 could come here today. Well, today's event is 500 miles, 188 laps on the world's fastest stock car facility, 2.66-mile Talladega Super Speedway. Pit road speed 55, the pit window a little bit iffy at 38 to 42 miles an hour. 33-degree banks. There's the front stretch almost flat on the back straightaway. All throughout the field, we'll be riding along with some high-definition onboard cameras. Martin Truex starts 13th in the Sprint Bass Pro Shops Chevy. Dale Earnhardt Jr. heard from him. He starts 26th in the Budweiser Chevrolet. Danny Hamlin starts 18th in the FedEx Chevy. Kevin Harvick 37th in the Shell Pennzoil Chevrolet. Jeff Burton starts 21st in the AT&T Chevy. Michael Waltrip, his 4th career pole in the Napa Auto Parts Toyota. Tony Raines 14th, the Texas Instruments DLP Chevrolet, and of course Carl Edwards 31st in the Office Depot Ford. The 27 car there is former Indy 500 winner and Formula One world champion Jacques Villeneuve, making his first ever super speedway stock car start. Now he qualified 6th, but made a very difficult but a very wise decision.
This is a really smart decision on his part. He's never raced here before. He's got not much experience here at all, but he's a very, very smart driver. He's elected to go to the back of the pack, watch this thing unfold, see what's going to happen. Because, you know, if he gets up in front of that thing and a wreck does happen, they're going to be pointing fingers at him. This is a good move.
Absolutely nothing to gain by him starting up front in this race. He just needs experience.
Right now he's clocking his wheel. He tries to get the steering wheel spoke lined up in the perfect 3 and 9 o'clock position. So that's what he was doing right there, getting all set for this race.
So many stories, so many plots and subplots. Here's what we will be watching for today.
Yeah, this COT car has just got so many unknowns. They can't really see through the car. The engines are turning so many RPMs. They don't even have a history on about the fuel mileage. So these guys just got a few laps of practice to kind of predict their fuel mileage.
You know, the big one is where is it going to happen? If it's going to happen, you know, and how many cars are going to be able, you just don't know what's going to happen. But if it does happen, it's probably going to be really big.
It is bump drafted. I know it's going to happen. I know NASCAR is going to be watching for it, but they're not going to be able to stop it.
And you heard what Dale Jr. said, or in race report. He's concerned about the bump draft. How hard can he hit a car? So he's really worried about that part.
The drivers have said in testing and practice, the slingshot passing, the aggressive bump drafting could make this one a dandy. Could the car of tomorrow today produce the race of the decade? Well, we're about to find out, folks. Buckle up those seatbelts on the sofas at home. Glad to have you with us for our ESPN on ABC coverage of NASCAR. 500 miles of hold your breath white knuckle stock car racing at the world's fastest facility here in Talladega, Alabama. Over 150,000 diehard fans on their feet as we head down to the green flag. Fans watching and waving. Michael Waltrip's last win came here 4 years ago. It has been a long time coming, and he leads it down to the green waves, and they shuffle into turn 1. Very important to remember what happens here in restrictor plate racing. It takes them almost an entire lap to get to full speed, and during this lap, they are so close together with that hammer down and throttling wide open.
And Jerry, they practiced a couple days here with about 20 cars at a time in a racetrack. Never have they had 43 cars in a racetrack at one time. And now, what's going to happen begins right now.
David Gilliland gets pushed down below the yellow line. It's not a penalty as long as he doesn't advance his position.
Right now, you already see it 3 wide. This is a brand new repaved racetrack. A lot of grip. The cars are handling real well, and are really accelerating up in the draft. That's what a lot of drivers are saying. But they can't see out of the cars good.
Got these Toyotas up front. There goes Dave Blaney.
And Andy's been a lot of concern about these Toyotas right now because they're all in qualifying form. Are the cars going to handle? I expect 4 or 5 laps to hold on pretty good, if not longer, but then probably the handling's going to change.
Look at this high lane. They are 3 wide up on the 33-degree banks. Blaney led the first lap, by the way. Michael Waltrip trying to hang on 3 lanes of drafters at 190+ miles an hour.
Before this race started, all the drivers were talking, you know, be careful, be careful. So I expect they're trying to do that right now, at least to the first pit stop, Andy.
Rod Vickers, they're just barely touching the guy in front of him. They're already doing this bump drafting.
Up high, some of the Dodges trying to look up on the move. There's a Toyota Waltrip moving up high.
Well, this is the first time Michael Waltrip's been able to take his car and keep it up front a long time. It's good to see that.
Now he's loving this. Now he's going to be racing today. I talked to him. He's really pumped up about this race.
Take a look at Bobby Labonte right up the center in the middle of the racetrack right now. Dave Blaney takes the lead.
Bobby Labonte Labonte driving the 43 car for the King, Richard Petty. He won here in 98. Talking about Labonte, he's in the middle group. Tony Stewart now trying to pull a high draft up to be in contention.
In this center lane and the top lane, everybody's saying it's going to be the fast way around the racetrack with that momentum built up. And look right now, bumper to bumper.
It looks like his outside lane got seized up a little bit. And you see these Toyotas now. Michael Waltrip in the middle. Dave Blaney, the 22 car.
Ryan Vickers, who won this race a year ago, is his first and to date only NASCAR Nextel Cup win in the 83 car. That's Vickers in the Toyota. And he will pull up and lead as they come by this time.
Now, the Toyota's qualified really well, but boy, can he handle good? That's a big concern right now. But take a look at Ryan Newman. He's pulling this train right through the center, right up behind Dave Blaney right now. And you know what? The way they qualified doesn't mean a darn thing right now. It's all about how they draft.
That is Ryan Newman in the 12 car. You see they are 3 wide up front. It's Toyota, side with Toyota. 83 is Vickers, 55 Michael Waltrip.
You see Michael Waltrip, that 55 car, he's using that mirror. He was in that center lane, and he saw Bobby Labonte in the 43 car moving up. He just moved his car right up in front of the 43, and he got the big push, and you see him get the lead.
Yeah, Dan, you make you wonder how good can they see out of the back of these cars. All these drivers are talking about, we can't see the hand signals. They're really struggling with it. Alan?
Talking about Michael Waltrip in that 55 car. Michael, of course, has achieved his greatest success in NASCAR on the super speedways like Daytona and Talladega. Winning the Daytona 500 a couple of times, Michael has confidence that he knows what to do with a car in a draft. What do you know? Some guys are just better in a draft than others. Michael believes this is his forte. He's showing it right now.
Yeah, it's awful good to see Michael Waltrip back up in the lead right now. The guy definitely knows how to run in the speedways. But take a look at right now, Mark Truex. He's just tapping a rear bumper, a 43 car Bob Labonte, and look how much faster it makes him go. A lot of momentum there.
Martin Truex started back in 13th position. Now watch the bump drafting in the telemetry here, 194 miles an hour. All the way up to 4th spot, now trying to move by and sail by the 55 car of Waltrip for the lead.
That middle lane and that top lane seems like it's had a lot of momentum, and that's how he's just passing with that momentum in the bump draft around the outside. We'll have to see how it shakes out today.
See the right Newman car, number 12, going backwards in the outside lane.
Yeah, it looks like he just lost a lot of speed right there and continued to slow down a little bit. I don't know if he got a handling issue with that car, got out of shape, or what was that last time by.
Whoa, Jamie McMurray getting a big push here now from Kevin Harvick.
Kevin Harvick started back in 37th position, and folks, here at lap 5, he is contending for the lead.
And take a look at Robbie Gordon right in front of Harvick. He just got a big push by Harvick on that one. Michael Waltrip pulls in behind him, and boy, that car, Robbie Gordon and Jamie McMurray almost look identical on the racetrack, Jerry. We have to watch that one.
More on Kevin Harvick with Mike.
Well, you know, Doc, there were a lot of concerns coming into this race, and one of them was the heat and the temperatures underneath the hood because of the draft. Well, I spoke with Todd Barrier, Kevin Harvick's crew chief, earlier this morning. He said one thing they are doing to counter the temperatures, they're running the 6-inch splitter. Most guys out here running the 4-inch splitter, but he's giving up a little bit of something in the draft so that 6-inch splitter can spray some more air into the grill.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about the splitter like Michael Charles just talking about. It's that piece on the very bottom of the car. It's adjustable. It can go forward all the way out to 6 inches or come all the way back to 4 inches. A lot of the drivers are saying if it's back, it's a little quicker. But if it's forward, you can cool the engine better. So it's about a 50-50 split out there today with these competitors.
There have been 6 lead changes among 5 different cars, and we may have another one here in just 7 laps. That's how competitive it already is. And now they go 4 wide across the stripe at Talladega. Bottom of the racetrack, Robbie Gordon is the Ford. Behind him is a Toyota, the 55. Then comes Tony Stewart in the Chevrolet. Single file on the bottom of the racetrack. There's a middle groove, an upper groove, and they're running 196 miles an hour back after these messages and a word from our ABC stations. Welcome back to Talladega Super Speedway. 24 cars are in the lead draft, and they are swapping it back and forth. Now Denny Hamlin becomes the 6th different leader as he tries to hang on, getting a little bit of a push from behind by John Andretti.
You know, Denny Hamlin in practice, NASCAR actually parked him from the second practice session saying, hey, they were bump drafting, they warned him, gave him a 15-minute delay. He decided to set up the whole session. So That was in practice, but right now it's a race. And NASCAR told them to just be careful out there.
Andy, a lot of unknowns about what would happen in the draft, and so as you see the 5 car now up, not quite touching. In happy hour, a lot of these guys started working on deals to be able to work out drafting partners for what would happen in the early laps today.
A lot of guys are using some different strategies here. You see a lot of aggressive driving up front. Some of these guys trying to lead the race. But you also see some other strategies going on. We see the second pack. And then we got a third pack of guys here that are maybe on just a little bit different strategy. Alan?
Andy, if you look all the way to the back end of the field, and actually a third group. It's comprised all of Fords. All of the Ford drivers went out in final practice yesterday together on the racetrack and ran in one draft. They found out that by working together like that, they could run lap times that were basically quick enough to run down a big pack of cars racing. So it looks to me like the Fords had put that information under their hats, decided to drop back as a group, let things sort out ahead of them, maybe try and work their way back up later, and catch a caution anyway, and be safe from the big wreck if it happens in the early laps. So I'm believing this is an intentional strategy on the part of the Fords based on what we saw in practice yesterday.
Alan, it definitely does look intentional, and we've seen guys go to the back of, say, the lead draft and just sit back there in case something happens. This is the first time we've seen guys slide this far back. I mean, these guys are a pretty good ways back from that lead group.
Well, Andy, I'm watching the times right now, and the lead pack is running like 49.50s. That's the lap times running. This very third pack is running 49.40. So the Ford group is actually running faster than the leaders at this point.
I think they feel comfortable that they can catch this group anytime they want to, and this gives them just enough separation for a big wreck to happen in front of them.
Well, there's a lot to be said, but they can just stay in line like they are right now. If they can stay bumper to bumper, they can run faster.
Working the inside, the 12, you talked about a moment ago, 55, Waltrip 20. Up front, the 5 car, Kyle Busch, and here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr. down on the bottom of the racetrack in the 8 car.
And Dale Jr. told us our in-race reporter he's just going to be searching the lines, the bottom, the middle, the top, to find out where his car needs to be, because he doesn't know where it needs to be right now.
These guys right here are saying, hey, I'm going to race. We came to race. I'm not going to sit back here and ride.
You see him locked down in the second lane right now with no help, nobody in front, nobody behind. But hey, that's going to change pretty quickly here.
5 car up front. We saw Kyle Busch a moment ago. As you see him running in second spot right behind the 11 car in the drivers meeting today. David Hooks, the guy who's the race director here, warned the drivers about bump drafting, said it will not be tolerated in the turns or significant hits on the straightaway. They've already warned now the 5 car of Kyle Busch.
See how these cars really bunch up. It looks to me like it's almost impossible not to have some contact.
Right now, these drivers are just trying to figure out what their car is going to do, where can they make a pass, and how good can they see it out of them. And you can tell they're working every single groove here. Now, you talk about a bad visibility problem. Look at Michael Waltrip. His tear-off on his windshield has come dislodged right now. And that's right in front of his eyes. So he's either looking underneath of it or off to the right of it, because it's right dead in the middle of his vision.
He ran off the racetrack a little bit getting in the corner there. It could be because of that vision problem you talked about.
Well, I think it is, Andy. It's right dead in front of where he's trying to see. This is a dangerous thing for Michael here. I don't know how much longer he can stay out there.
See, looking up in his mirrors, what do you do if you're a driver? I mean, where do you look to be able to know what's ahead of you?
Well, you're looking right off to the very left-hand side right now, Doc. He's looking at what we call the A-post. I saw it on the camera just by. He's got about 8 inches he can look off to the left. But you definitely want to look straight out and off to the right sometimes. And I got a feeling, Andy, that's the reason he's staying on the bottom of the track right now.
I'd be telling my guy, if this was my driver, to just get in a place where you don't have to be so tight with these guys. So give yourself some room. No big deal here. It's early in the race, and we see him doing that. He's kind of just giving these guys a little extra room, go to the back. Maybe this thing will blow off of there. There's not much you can do about it.
17 car, Matt Kenseth, who's had bad luck in both of the last 2 chase events, finishing 35th. He slows and heads to pit road. Dave.
Doc, you never want to come down pit road at Talladega without a partner to draft back with. Matt Kenseth had to do it because he believes that right front tire may be going low. They will change 2 right sides and head back out, and he will hope the pack can't catch him, the lead pack, by the time he gets back up to speed.
He's going to be a sitting duck out there, Dave. He's got nobody to run with right now. These leaders are coming off turn 4. They're just going to suck him right up, man, and he's going to be in big trouble.
Kenseth, I visited with him last night. He's 11th out of the 12 drivers in the chase. And as you said, Andy, here he is, a sitting duck, because the lead draft comes by at 196 miles an hour, and he's still not getting up to speed.
He just got a lucky break right here.
Contact with the 49 car. That is John Andretti, who had such a great qualifying run, but he has had contact with...
But right now, boy, this is a big break for Matt Kenseth. Looks like
No indication of nothing. Matter of fact, I was just going to call and say the car hand.
Kenseth's going to get his lap back. He just about went a lap back, a lap down. They waved him by, so he's still on the lead lap right now. Benefit off of what happened to John Andretti just then.
Let me correct John Andretti's situation. It looked like he'd had contact when he came by us, but apparently he cut a right front tire, and the tire just took the fender completely off. He said, I had no warning. You heard him on the radio a moment ago.
Guys, just what I heard. You know, you saw the Ford pack stay way back there, Andy, and that really was about to get Matt Kenseth in trouble for being laying back from the pack so bad. Almost got himself flat because of that.
Early on here at Talladega Super Speedway, we've had 8 lead changes and 6 leaders. You're watching ESPN on ABC.
Reed Sorensen already down and away. Car handling very well. Just a little bit hot. They pulled some tape, a 2-tire change for Sorensen. Jamie?
Behind him, Kyle Busch. He gained 34 positions. They were going to do 4 tires, pull a strip of tape. He's off and away. Alan?
Denny Hamlin just took right side tires only, pitted from the lead. He's back on the track.
First pit stop of the day, you see Michael Waltrip. They had to get that tearaway off his car at the very end of pit road. Again, the race off of pit road. Casey Kane, fuel only. No tires for the Dodge driver who nearly pulled off the upset win here a year ago. He finished second to Brian Vickers. You see Dale Earnhardt Jr. gaining 7 spots on some pit strategy. Kyle Busch, you heard he put 4 tires on and made an adjustment there with the 5 car. One of the cars that stayed out is the 45 car of Kyle Petty. He stayed on the racetrack, and he is being shown as our leader.
That particular move right there makes me nervous. 20 laps on fuel already and stayed out. I mean, Andy, if this thing goes green, I mean, he's in trouble right there.
Well, he may just be staying out here just to try to lead a lap. He's one of those cars fighting to stay in the top 35. These 5 points for leading would be a big bonus for him right here.
Kyle Petty, the 45 car, by the way, 34th in owner's points, just 39 points in front of the 35th car. Under caution here for the first time today. The caution coming out. We just joined our coverage on lap 17. Right front tire on John Andretti. We're hearing reports from the pits that there may have been cords showing on that right front tire. How worried would you be, Andy?
I'm pretty worried because Matt Kenseth came in a while ago with a problem with the right front tire. Not sure exactly what was going on with him, but could have been the same kind of issue there. I'm a little bit concerned about that right front.
Yeah, I talked to some of the drivers yesterday. They said it looks like he could run all day long on tires, no problem. But maybe they're seeing some heat problems, blistering.
But this tire really wears well. I mean, it'll run forever as far as tire wear, but it builds up a lot of heat because it doesn't wear and it can blister. And when that happens, man, the tire just comes apart like you see here.
Safety crews picking up some of the debris up around the racetrack. Cleanup continues. Here is Kyle Petty now on pit road making his pit stop. You saw Joe Nemechek on pit road a moment ago in the 78 car. Here's the 24 car of Jeff Gordon. Alan?
Well, Doc had a little strategy play going on. I think some of these guys thought about not taking tires, but Jeff Gordon has chosen to come down pit road this time after seeing what shook out. Crew Chief Steve Letarte called him in. There should be a 4-tire change on the 24 car, and they will indeed come around and get those left side tires.
Al, this is a smart move by Steve Letarte. I'm really impressed with his ability to kind of see what's going on here and make that decision. That was a great decision.
Jacques Villeneuve's first ever pit stop in a NASCAR Nextel Cup car. Slugger Labby, the crew chief, making some serious adjustments here.
I talked to Slugger Labby before qualifying, and he said, if we make this race, he says, the first pit stop I've got to do, make so many changes that I got to put my car on 4 jack stands. He's not kidding. He's got one under there.
Well, he's doing that because he put the car in qualifying mode to get it in the field. Now the car's not handling, so now they're making changes, probably some track bar adjustments, spring rubbers, shock adjustments. Well, not shock adjustments, because NASCAR mandates the shock. That's right. So everything around the shocks he's messing with right now.
They're just done doing this qualifying setup, get him something he can drive and be competitive and hopefully finish this race.
Take a look at our forward lap leaders. We had 6 different leaders in the first 5 laps here thus far. Denny Hamlin has led 7 laps. Vickers, Gordon, Bobby Labonte, Kyle Petty sit out and led a lap. Michael Waltrip, our pole sitter. Jimmy Johnson, the Rating Cup champion, of course, and Dave Blaney in a Toyota. 8 different leaders. There have been 10 lead changes here in the first 20 laps. Still working caution number 1 on the afternoon.
I like what I saw Michael Waltrip do. That was a good decision. Stay out, get those 5 points, come in, pit, go to the back of the pack. Really good move because he's so tight in those points right now. It's unreal.
Back at Talladega Super Speedway aerial coverage brought to you by Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for over 50 years. Moments ago, the 48 car, Jimmy Johnson, the 2 of Kurt Busch, and the 25 Casey Mears coming on for 4 fresh Goodyear tires. But Matt Kenseth now came back on the pit road. He had the tire issue early on and then raised the hood on the car to make some adjustments.
Looks like they're winding the jack screw here. I'm not sure exactly what they're trying to do. Maybe take some camber out of it. They're trying to load this tire maybe a little different than what it is now because they had some problems down there. Dave?
And Andy, that's about right. They want to increase the tire wear on that right front. The problem is, as we come to green again, Matt Kenseth is going to have to come back down pit road because that right front has a bad vibration. He doesn't know if the right front tire just is out of balance or something, but the problems are going to continue. Remember, when that right front tire came off under green, there were cords showing. There was a lot of wear. They tried to adjust for that during this last pit stop.
Tough break for Matt Kenseth, who had dodged a bullet a moment ago, able to stay on the lead lap, but now he'll have to come back in, according to Dave.
Well, actually, he rolled the dice here and is taking the green. Maybe he's just going to try to feel it out.
Denny Hamlin leads him down. Casey Kane right behind him. They are in a tight draft coming up to full speed off of turn 2.
The single file restart is going to be interesting to see how long it takes these guys to get 2 and 3 wide.
Well, you know, in the single file restart, they're going to get going for just a little bit, and finally, that second lane's going to pack in, that third lane's going to pack in, and they're going to run them down. You see them right now, breaking apart, back in the pack a little bit now.
Second and fourth place car are teammates, the 9 and 19 of Kane and Sadler. Lap 22, Hamlin leads him down. We talked about the fact that there are so many unknowns here with regard to the car of tomorrow. We asked Matt Kenseth his thoughts on the new car.
When you first started coming here, you're real excited to go draft and do that because you've never done that in your racing career. And then it went to a point where you're like, well, we're probably going to wreck because you wreck more times than not. And you're kind of nervous about the wreck all day, but you're kind of used to it. And now it's all new again, and you can't see as well. So definitely, I think everybody's more nervous going into this race than probably other restrictor plate races that we've had in the past.
Concerns over visibility with the car tomorrow, and thus far they're still shuffling it up pretty well. And some concerns about tires there with the right front. 29 is Harvick, the 5 is Kyle Busch.
A little bit of concern about tires. If you see the front splitter on these cars are right dead on the ground, about all of them are. The cars are still riding on the bump stops like we see at some other tracks. And because of that, you know, they've really got their front end down on these cars and messing with the camera.
Well, one other thing, Rusty, too, is these cars have got about 100 counts more downforce, a couple 100 pounds more downforce than they've ever had here. So maybe this extra downforce is going to put more load on the front tires.
It's got to be the reason they're messing with the air dam, sliding the splitter back and forth and trying to get some adjustability there also.
Just so many unknowns. You know, these guys are just trying to learn this thing just as they go, actually.
2 lanes, you see the different drafts, one being led by Hamlin, one being led by Harvick, almost even at just 191, 192 miles an hour.
And what you're going to see right here, you're going to see the miles per hour change a lot from the outside lane to the inside lane, depending on the run they get.
Here you see it happening right now. You've got Kevin Harvick just pushing this Dodge. Didn't take long for him to get up there and get the lead.
See right now, Sadler at 196, 97 miles an hour down the front straight. We're looking at close to 198. Approaching 200 going into turn 1, and that's all because he's getting a big shove from Kevin Harvick going into turn 1 right now.
I think all these drivers are just trying to learn the different dynamic of this new car as far as the air is concerned. You know, these guys are trying to figure out exactly where to be and how to draft.
Well, right now they're just being calm, I think. The race looks pretty calm right now, but you know at the end of this thing, the tension's going to get high. They're going to go for it, and I wouldn't doubt if you see this race end with a full wide finish.
Here they come pushing up high. The 9 car of Casey Kane trying to push the 11 of Hamlin. Kane's teammate, the 19, is Sadler. Elliott Sadler trying to get back to victory lane. Allen.
Just a strategy update on that 19 car, Doc. Right side tires only on his pit stop. He started 10th. He's been in this lead group about the whole race long. No top 5 finish yet this year for Elliott Sadler. Like to change that today, but we've got a long way to go.
Elliott Sadler's great at restrictor plate racing. This would be a good chance for him to get that top 5.
Well, this is a great opportunity, like you said, because, you know, he struggled a little bit this year, but he's good right here. And I wouldn't doubt he can pull it off here.
I'm impressed with Kevin Harvick in the 29 car. Harvick started back in 37th position as you watch these guys dancing back and forth. The onboard looking back from Harvick's car. how close are those guys together? You can't put a sheet of paper between Kane and the 9 and the 11 of Hamlin.
Well, they drafted like these guys all through practice, the 2 days of practice session here, bump drafting each other. They say the cars are so screwed to the racetrack, they can do that.
To give you that kind of confidence when you have a car that handles and sticks to the racetrack that well, to just get up there and root and gouge, bump these guys up to the lead.
Well, they got time right now to do that, and they've got enough separation now. They can get pretty aggressive and bump each other around, but the dangerous part, when they get 3 and when they get 4 wide, that's where it can get crazy.
I see 2 guys getting together here, Michael Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt Jr. These guys have been partners in the draft before, and I see them getting together here kind of mid-pack, doing a little pushing up through the front. Here we go.
Watch this push here from the 8 car of Earnhardt Jr. Now, this is the left of your screen up front on the inside line. You see there's Montoya going down behind Harvick and behind Elliott Sadler. And Brad Daugherty, Elliott Sadler is a very good restrictor plate racer.
I got to spend a lot of time with Elliott this past weekend on Friday, in particular, talking about his season. They've been very disappointed, but he thought that he could get here today and have a very good run. He said, Brad, if I can continue to maintain momentum throughout the day, he knows everyone else wants to go to the back. He wants to be up front all day long and give himself a shot to get that elusive victory that's been eluding him this year.
Well, Brad, take a look at this middle line right now. It's starting to really get going in the top lane. All the way at the top of the racetrack also. They're getting a big run, a lot of momentum. The guys are starting to get pretty compacted right now.
The 1 car of Martin Truex Jr. all over the 55 behind him. He's getting a little Toyota tag from the 83. Here comes Earnhardt Jr. now trying to use that middle groove you were just talking about.
Well, Earnhardt Jr. is going to try this racetrack everywhere. He told us, and as he was in a race reporter, he just doesn't know what the car is going to do. He's trying everything. And right now, it appears that the center lane and the top lane are the 2 quickest lanes out there.
There's just so many laps to go. You have to wonder sometimes, why are these guys so aggressive at this point in the race?
Yeah, because the race drivers, they get paid the big money to do it. You know, NASCAR tells us to be careful. Man, you try it, it's in your mind, but it just doesn't happen.
It's like as soon as you flip that switch, that all goes out the window.
That's exactly right. Look at Brian Vickers on the top of that racetrack. Giving Denny Hamlin a big shove right there. Hamlin's been stuck at the top for a long time, and he loves it up there.
Different leader, Casey King, goes to the point here as they continue 3-wide battle right up close and personal at 190 plus miles an hour. And by the way, a moment ago, this lead draft ran a lap quicker than what Michael Waltrip ran to put his car on the pole. That's how quick the draft is here at Talladega.
Now that draft area can pick you up over 10 miles per hour if conditions are right. I mean, you get 4 or 5 of these guys hooked up in a straight line, they can flat sail around this racetrack.
Here goes Truex in the 1 car down on the inside. Says it's my turn to lead.
It's a pretty aggressive move. You saw him come straight from that outside lane, right straight to the bottom.
And how important was qualifying? Not at all. You see Truex didn't qualify up front, kind of mid-pack there. You see Dale Earnhardt Jr. qualified back in the 20th. And then you see Michael Waltrip was on a pole. So handling and drafting was just everything in the world.
Back with more from Talladega after these messages and a word from our ABC station.
This telecast is available on ABC HD, presented by DLP HD TV. As we welcome you back to Talladega Super Speedway, 34 of 188 laps complete. 15 lead changes. Brad, what sort of jumps out at you early in the race?
You know, there wasn't the inconsistency that I thought there was going to be with the guys who started up front in the first 5 rows, the qualifier, the go-homers. They actually held their own and did a pretty good job until that first caution. But now you see the 8 car, who I predicted to win this thing, move towards the front. You see Jeff Burton move towards the front. Kyle Busch, Martin Truex came from the back. So the guys who have the strong cars are actually starting to work their way up. All of those guys outside of Jeff Gordon, who has maintained his rear position. He's just back there riding right now, waiting and watching. But there hasn't been much patience outside of Jeff Gordon.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. comes in with so much confidence. He practically guaranteed to win here. He's won here 5 times.
He is excellent at this racetrack, and I like his strategy. He wants to get out front. He wants to lead. He wants to fill his car in that lead air and see what it does. So he's prepared at the end of the race. I think that's the only negative for a guy like Jeff Gordon of the guys in the back.
And Doc, in 6 of the last 12 races here, Dale Jr. has led the most laps.
Susie, his win streak in jeopardy. 2 guys have already continued theirs. His is 7 consecutive seasons. He has not won this year. In fact, his last victory coming 55 races ago, May 6th of 2006. at Richmond, and he told us in the early part of our pre-race coverage he feels real good. In fact, yesterday he predicted a win in this race today.
Well, I talked to a lot of drivers in the garage area down on pit road and asked them, can you keep your car up front? If you get up front, can you hold that lead with this new aero package and this new car? Most of them said no. It's hard to stay up front. But one guy that said he could do it was Dale Earnhardt Jr. He was very confident he could get his car up front and keep it there.
Earnhardt Jr., the leader. Bobby Labonte in the Richard Petty-owned Dodge, the 43 car second. Kyle Busch is running third. Jamie Little.
Well, Doc, I'm in Kyle Busch's pit right now. A NASCAR official just came down from talking to Alan Gustafson. I just asked Alan what he said. He said, we told him he's driving too aggressive, that he needs to back it down. Kyle needs to not be so aggressive or they're going to black flag him. Remember, guys, earlier in that driver's meeting, that is all they emphasized. Do not be too aggressive on this track today. So they're keeping an eye on the 5 car.
Well, when NASCAR's keeping an eye on you, you better drive right, because if you mess up a little bit, they're going to bring you down pit road for stop-and-go penalty, black flag, or whatever. But take a look at Jeff Burton right now. He's got himself up in the 4th position at Richard Childress' car. He's got it handling real well. He's had some bad luck this year.
He's had a lot of bad luck, and this is one guy that you kind of pull for because he's been here so long, and he's got a shot to win the championship. He's sitting in the right spot right here. He's just kind of biding his time. He's got enough gap between the car in front of him. He's not going to do anything stupid just wanting to race.
You know, one thing I'm watching right now, they're running the top lane. You know, that's a farther way around the racetrack. The fuel mileage has got to be getting killed by these guys taking a long way around the track.
But what are you going to do? All these other guys are at the top. You can't go down there by yourself.
Well, they're following the 8 car at Dale Earnhardt Jr. right now, and I got to believe if they were on the bottom, the fuel mileage would be better, and they'd be running just as fast.
Let's hear what Jeff Burton had to say about trying to figure out this car of tomorrow.
Quite simply, we've got to, take our car tomorrow to another level. We've not performed like we need to with the car tomorrow. We've worked exceptionally hard at it. Our teammates in most cases have been able to do better than us, so we've got to, quickly figure out what I'm doing as a driver and what we're doing as a team that isn't as effective as what they've been able to do. And that is the big thing right now for us.
Trying to get it figured out, running 4th here in the 31 car. Jeff Burton coming off the frustrations of a week ago, finishing 36th at Kansas City, which moved him back to 10th in the chase points. Alan?
And Doc, I talked to Jeff Burton just before the start of the race, and he told me he truly had no idea what to expect in today's race. He said, I don't have any idea how the cars are going to handle, how they're going to perform, how the draft's going to be, whether we'll go forward, whether we'll go back. I have no idea. And he just finished out on the radio, taking about an entire lap and very calmly discussing the RPM, air range of his engine, to his crew chief, the form of the draft on the racetrack. For a guy that's out there doing 190-something miles an hour, he sounds pretty relaxed.
The race is pretty calm right now. These guys have kind of got lined up, decided, hey, we're going to log a few laps here. You see the second pack doing the same thing. You see Carl Edwards looks like he's leading this pack.
Well, look who's back here, guys. All the way to the back of this pack, you got Jeff Gordon back there. You got the 2 car of Kurt Busch. You got the 48 car, reigning series champion Jimmy Johnson.
You know, that's a little bit of a surprise to me right there. I don't think you have to be that careful that you're the very back of the pack. I've seen these wrecks happen at the beginning of the pack, in the middle, in the back. But obviously they're trying to stay away from the big one if it does happen. But the concern I would have, can they lose the draft by doing this?
I'm watching the lap times. It doesn't look like they're going to lose the draft unless these guys up front would be smart enough to line up and get single file and try to drive around the racetrack on these guys.
Well, the guy right now is probably pretty nervous is Matt Kenseth in the very back. He's tailed back, and if he does lose the draft, he would be the one because there's nobody behind him to help him. Dave?
And Rusty, he did lose that draft a few laps back. About 10 car lengths separated him from that group. The reason was he was trying to cool down his race car. Temperature's way up. They noticed a piece of paper on the grill. He said, I'm going to have to catch the pack and try to do that sweep move and use the air disturbance to wipe that piece of paper off. So Carl Edwards at the head of that pack slowed the whole pack down so that Matt could catch. Nobody passed him. He just slowed the entire pack down, and Matt got that piece of paper off the grill. Temps coming down.
Now that's teamwork right there, Dave.
And everybody else.
You don't think that's going to happen in the race, do you? I mean, when you're a driver up the lead, you get out of the throttle so you can go get one of your teammates and drag them forward. Hey, and that's hard to believe that's happening, but you know it won't happen at the very end.
41 of 188 laps in here at Talladega. Dale Earnhardt Jr., a 5-time winner. You remember his dad won this race 10 times, won at Talladega 10 times. Earnhardt Jr. trying to go to victory lane for the first time in 55 races. It's been that long ago, May of 2006. And right now, he's got the car to beat at the head of the field. You're watching ESPN on ABC.
I'm Stan Verrett, and this is the SportsCenter Minute powered by Vizio. In college football last night, yet another stunning upset. Stanford beat USC 24-23 to snap the Trojans' 35-game home win streak. USC dropped to number 10 in this week's Associated Press poll. Meanwhile, in Baton Rouge, LSU beat Florida 28-24 to remain unbeaten. The Tigers are the unanimous #1 this week. Cal is #2 with Ohio State at #3. And Yankees owner George Steinbrenner tells New Jersey's Bergen Record that he won't have manager Joe Torre back if the Yankees don't win their playoff series with the Indians. New York will try to avoid a sweep tonight at home. I'm Stan Verrett, and that's the SportsCenter Minute.
Fabulous finishes in college football last night. Of course, anticipating the same here at Talladega with NASCAR's Nextel Cup Series. Now, Rusty Wallace, at this point in the race, a lot of these guys settling in to sort of feel what they've got.
Yeah, they're running the top lane right now. You can see there's logging laps right now. Nobody's getting excited, making it 2- and 3-wide racer right now. They're just trying to get to the midway point of this race, get to the end.
You saw these guys really aggressive in the early laps and 2 and 3 wide. What happened here? Why did they all get single file?
Well, you know one thing, they know they can do it. It will happen. They will get 2 and 3 wide because they did it earlier in the race. But right now, you can sense the drivers are just saying, hey, take it easy. Let's get this thing to the end before we get racing.
Bobby Labonte runs in second spot. Let's check in at his pit with Dave.
And speaking of the end of the race, guys, that must be interesting thinking right now for Bobby Labonte. He commented after qualifying yesterday regarding the race and saying, I don't think you want to be leading on the last lap. The key is not to be the guy in first place. Now, in years past, whether you were leading, whether you were second going to slingshot, that's been the great debate. Labonte is not sure, but he thinks you may not want to be first. And right now, running second, maybe he's planning his race end strategy.
It could be, Dave, but like I said, I talked to a lot of guys, and most guys were thinking like Bobby Labonte, that they couldn't lead the race on the last lap and come back to the win.
I think that every driver out there thinks that they get a 2 and 3 wide draft going on, and they're in the front, they're a sitting duck. They're going to get drove by right off the bat.
Right behind the 43 is the 5 car of Kyle Busch, who, when asked, said he's not real crazy about this kind of racing here at Talladega.
I always dread coming here. It's just a place that isn't very fun to me, and I always seem to wreck here. So anytime you wreck, that you don't have fun. So for me, it's just trying to get through here, get in and get out, and go on to the next one.
You know, when you go to a racetrack and you have a lot of wrecks, you don't want to go back. That's for sure. But you know, I'm watching these guys run this high lane out there on the racetrack, lap after lap. And 7-time champion Richard Petty told me that this top lane of the racetrack is where he likes to run. I said, why? He said, if I have a tire failure or something goes wrong with the car, it's just that much less of a distance before I hit the wall.
And if you're wondering why some of these drivers, like the 5 car of Kyle Busch, may not like coming here, well, folks, back in the spring, it got very ugly in a hurry for Kyle Busch in the NASCAR Busch Series event. Remember this one? Watch the contact and watch his car just start to barrel roll and somersault as the field comes sliding by at over 185 miles an hour.
I can see how that would be a bit of fun right there.
Well, you saw them so tight, if they moved the wheel just a little bit too much, they're going to bang it in somebody, and things like that happen. You saw him, and that was Tony Stewart in the 33 car had that problem. That's a big wreck right there.
And fortunately, because of NASCAR's stringent safety on these cars, all the parameters they have, he was able to walk away. Upset and angry, but he did walk away.
You know, earlier in the race, NASCAR warned him for a little bit of rough driving, so he probably needs to remember what happened the last time he was here. Just calm down a little bit and don't let this problem happen again.
.49 of 188 laps in. We're moving in on what should be scheduled pit stops about 10 or so laps away. Earnhardt Jr. is our leader. Alan Beck.
I'm sure you have, and I'm sure most of the folks watching have been on a long trip in the car. You know, say 500 miles, driving down the road when it's kind of quiet inside the car. Sometimes you need something on the radio to, keep you entertained, keep you informed while you're cruising at, say, 190 miles an hour. How about, say, the race leader, Dale Earnhardt Jr.?
14-3 race.
You might listen to music, you might listen to something else. In this case, Earnhardt Jr. is getting some score updates on the only radio he has in his car.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. is a diehard Washington Redskin fan. That's why a lot of people thought he might go to Joe Gibbs Racing when he left DEI, but of course he decided to go to drive next year for Rick Hendrick.
And he's sitting there thinking about football, not racing, man. I'm telling you, I'd be thinking all about what that car's doing right here.
Well, he can do that when he's 4 wide with 2 laps to go. He's really good. We know he's pretty good, but man, you got to be good to have your mind off of driving and on football right now.
Now, how much would Dale Earnhardt Sr. wander from the race? Would he ever think about other things during the race to be able to occupy himself?
It does sound a lot like Senior. I mean, he can be up front like this. In this part of the race when it's really not that critical, and you know, he'd come up with some funny things every now and then he'd say on the radio just to kind of keep it light. But buddy, when it came down to time to pay off, he was all business.
Well, I can tell you one thing for sure. The thing he always talked about was getting out of the racetrack first, getting to the airplane, the very first guy, through the dirt road, through the woods, fire the plane up, get it going. I'm going to beat all these guys.
He wanted to win everything.
If he didn't win the race, he won the race to the airport.
If I was Dale Earnhardt Jr., I'd be watching these gauges right now because I see some trash on the front of this grill. Looks like he's got a little bit of debris that's kind of packing up in there. You can see right there, in that grill open. I'd be worried about that a little bit. He's got the clean air. He doesn't have anybody in front of him, so it should be okay as long as he's got some, you know, if he's got some opening there.
And it looks like he's got some tape on there that he can pull off to cool that motor down a little bit. You see the red stripes off to the left, and that's there on purpose. Brad, take a look at this. I mean, this engine could be overheating right now because that's more debris than that engine can probably stand.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I had a question for Andy Petrie regarding the engines. You know, we know that DEI has had some problems throughout the year with significant motor failures. He's out here right now. Obviously, it's a long green flag run, turning about 8,600 to 8,800 RPM. Is that something to be concerned with? And the second part of that question, Andy, are the guys back in the back getting a break on their engines by riding in the draft?
Well, Brad, I'm scared to death if I'm those guys, any of them. I mean, these are RPMs like we've never seen here, so I wouldn't be even comfortable about it until the race is over. But the guys in the back can back off a little bit, but their engines are still going to have to turn those high RPMs, even if they're off the gas a little.
Lap 53 of 188, riding along with Jeff Burton, watching the speeds and the RPMs, and he's got that throttle hammered down. 53 laps in the books. Earnhardt Jr. is our leader. Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. Dale Earnhardt Jr. still leading that front draft. Now, several cars had peeled off just moments ago to make a quick pit stop, including those of the 31 car of Burt. Here come others on the pit road now. The 21 of Kenny Schrader, the 99 of Edwards Biffle, last week's winner, as they come down at 55 miles per hour. Dave.
Carl Edwards, who's been leading that second pack of cars, will take on 4 tires this time. Actually, yeah, it'll be 4 for Carl and full of fuel. His teammate Matt Kenseth was on and off of pit road, and only 2 for him. It was 2 for Kenseth as well. He gets it fired. Mike?
Greg Biffle and his team real confident, real happy with their car so far. A quick 2-tire change to the 16 car on their way.
These guys down pit road being very careful not to speed, can ill afford a speeding penalty here at Talladega. Still waiting for this group to come on. Earnhardt Jr., Kyle Busch.
The 17 car, Matt Kenseth, and the 22 of Dave Blaney were in just a lap ago. Got penalized for going too fast on pit road, so they're going to have to come back.
Pass-through penalty for the 17. Here's Bobby Labonte with his Dodge. Great run thus far for Bobby.
These guys going for 4 tires. We saw that other group going for 2. It's almost like when these guys come down together, if one of them takes 2, they all have to take 2 to stay together. Mike?
The biggest concern for Reed Sorensen on his last stop were the temperatures. They escalated to 230 degrees. They tried to pull off some tape on this stop. Alan?
Mark Truex Jr. pits running in the top 6 or 7 all race long just about. Once he got going on the initial start, a 4-tire change for him.
Sorensen, Bobby Labonte head out. Kyle Petty, you see him moving back out. Jacques Villeneuve, who's getting a lot of learning done here. He was at the back of that lead draft, the 31 car.
Next down by, 4 tires.
You see Berg and Harvick and some of these guys that have already made their pit stops.
See this 8 car dropping down on the bottom of the racetrack. Now here comes Kyle Busch. Looks like these guys, anywhere Dale Earnhardt Jr. goes, these other guys just want to follow.
Casey King making his stop. Normally you wave your hands, right, Rusty, as they're trying to make these stops and slow down. Here's the 12th car, Ryan Newman on pit road. Alan?
They're talking on his radio earlier, trying to figure out how to move forward. Was looking to move low when everybody was running high. Couldn't get anybody to run with him. 4 tire change there for Newman's Dodge.
Here they come, Earnhardt, Kyle Busch, Tony Stewart, and a host of lead cars. There's Vickers, the 83, going by, and here comes Earnhardt leading him down pit road for his stop. Dave in the 20-car pits.
And they told Tony to stay out an extra lap. He said, no problem, I'm not going anywhere anyway, but he does pit with leaders now. They will take on 2 right side tires, no adjustment for Tony Stewart. Jamie.
And Kyle Busch stayed out a couple extra laps because he wanted a partner to come in with, so Dale Earnhardt Jr. was his partner. Kyle Busch came in, guys, and you know they gave him that warning about being too aggressive, so he asked for an energy drink for this next stop, Alan.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. in from the lead, a 4 tire change, filled up with fuel. You see they go and try and clean some of that stuff off the grill that we pointed out a bit earlier.
Got to get those grills clean. You heard about some of those guys, Reed Sorensen talking about his water temperature over 240 degrees. Next group coming on. Here's Vickers, who was the leader. Rudeman, the 00 car, and the pole sitter, Michael Waltrip.
Got to be careful not to speed on pit road here because you can lose the draft if you have to come back down on pit road.
Dale Jarrett and Jimmy Johnson also in this group making their pit stop here under green. Jamie?
And Brian Vickers listening to his crew chief making the calls. Remember last time he was here, this time last year, he won the race. Brian Vickers going to take 4 tires, and we're watching Jimmy Johnson right there. He's out of pit sequence, but he found some partners. 4 tires and fuel for Jimmy Johnson. He's down and away.
Jimmy rolling out. Jimmy the 48, 44. Dale Jarrett, a 2-time winner here. There's Jeff Gordon. These guys, remember, were hanging at the back of the field here, just trying to stay out of trouble early part of this race.
They were about 6 seconds behind the lead pack before they started. All these cars started pitting. So now you're going to see just all this shuffling going on. It's going to be interesting to see how it all works out.
Possible strategy here for Kevin Harvick on this pit stop.
Wow, he's going for left side tires. So I guess these guys are not worried about that right front like some of the problems we've seen earlier.
Have you ever done that here early on at Talladega?
Yeah, I've done it before. And what you can do here, because the tire wear is not very bad here, is you can go right sides, then left sides, then right. You can kind of rotate. So that's probably what they're doing here.
Mike?
And Andy, that call was made entirely by the driver, Kevin Harvick. He had radioed in before that stop asking Todd Berrier what they had planned to do. Berrier said they were going to just change right sides. And, well, Kevin Harvick didn't like that plan and said, no, let's do left sides instead. So all on his shoulders.
It makes you wonder what it was that Kevin was feeling that made him want to put left side tires on the car.
Well, the driver knows what the car feels like. But hey, take a look at Jack Bell moving outside. 27 car up against the wall right now. Looks like he's getting a little more racy. Starting to get comfortable out there.
Bill New, the former Formula One world champion, ran a truck race yesterday, ran a truck race a couple weeks ago at Las Vegas, but making his first ever start in a NASCAR Nextel Cup stock car.
We saw these guys running single file a while ago. Now the pit stop seemed to have brought the group together instead of breaking them apart. Talk about closing range, man. Look at this right here. You see that 11 car coming up on this 55 car. Michael Waltrip has got to find somewhere to take that momentum. Right up next to the wall.
And Michael did a good job just holding the steering wheel, stay in the middle.
Well, trouble on the racetrack. A couple of contact that involves the
Greg Biffle.
Greg Biffle in the 16 car. Also the 38 of David Gillen has had some contact. Robert Gates racing car. And that will bring out caution for the second time.
Looks like Greg Biffle's got a right front tire there.
Let's get on board here. We'll be all right.
Biffle, last week's winner at Kansas City. Breaking that 28
room on
race.
the left side post. Where's that?
These guys are going to get 4 tires.
Nice and easy. 4,200, 4,200. How's that fender look? How's that fender look? Good on the body? Everything good on the body? Okay.
Like everything's going to work out fine for Greg Biffle right here.
Show you what happened to bring this caution out. Greg Biffle in the 16. The 38 is Gillen.
Wow, see a little bit of contact. Looks like Greg Biffle got turned around, but he got straightened up pretty quick.
That's the first time in a while they've been too wide, bumper to bumper, like they've been since the start of the race. But look at this.
Yeah, this is what these guys were talking about when they can't see through each other's cars. They got jammed up right there, and the guys behind probably couldn't see that.
And that they can't, when they throw their hands up and waving them off, the drivers can't see it. Like you said, Andy, that's what causes this problem.
Lots of chain reaction. 38 car into the back of the 16.
You saw that closing rate, and you see these guys when they start closing up on each other, they got to be able to signal each other to tell them, hey, these guys are slowing down in front of me. If you can't see it, they drive straight into it.
They get so compacted, there's not much room. You're talking bumper to bumper, and you need to be running at that same speed when you get out of the throttle. If you jump out, everybody's going to check up and cause a big crash. Let's watch it from Kevin Harvick's car. See what it looks like from this angle.
We've got a lot better angle up on top of the roof with this camera than the drivers actually have.
Down low. Stay right there.
We're lucky we didn't have a bigger wreck in that instance than we did.
Pretty heavy damage for David Gilliland, who recorded his best career finish at this race back in the spring. Now, pit road is closed as far as pit stops are concerned, but they're going to bring him down pit road behind the pace car to be able to avoid some of the debris on the racetrack. And while they clean up the racetrack, under caution, we'll take a break. We'll be back after these messages and a word from our ABC station. Back at Talladega, many of the leaders have stayed out. Several of these cars have come on the pit road, including Jeff Burton, Kevin Harvick. 99 car of Edwards, some of those that actually pitted earlier, pitted back on lap 56, so they had actually run 9 laps since this caution came out, so they're going to come on the pit road.
Some of these guys actually even had some damage because they got up against the wall a little bit. Want to get some tires on there, make sure they didn't have any tire rubs, and go ahead and get a little fuel. No reason not to go ahead and get a little fuel right here, and it opens up your options later when these guys start pitting under green.
Let's show you what happened here. This chain reaction crash on lap 63. Now watch the 15 and the 01 up toward the front here. Watch them slow up.
You can tell right now the 15 of Paul Menard's really compacted behind the car. So the 15 to 01 slow up a little bit. The 99 of Carl Edwards got to get out of the throttle, and he gets tagged in the back. This is a normal chain reaction caused by lack of vision out of those rear wings. They can't see out of the rear window. They'll use the hand signals. See 16?
You see how fast it happens.
Yeah, it's just, and nobody did anything wrong. Nobody's out of shape. They're just bumper to bumper, and they start hitting each other.
Let's listen in to Greg Biffle's communications.
That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. I hit Carl. Then I got hit from behind. Spun out. Then the car's perfect.
Greg Biffle involved, and there was the 38 car reacting. Of course, there was a chain reaction crash, and the 38 of David Gilliland right behind the 16.
See, David Gilliland doesn't realize what happened because he couldn't see in front of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, this is coming true what all the drivers were talking about. You know, you just can't use the hand signals. And folks, here at Talladega, hand signals are everything in the world. It really lets the drivers around you judge what's going on.
One guy that got some damage from this was Martin Truex Jr. in the one car, one of our chase guys. He got up against the wall and scraped the wall. They came down pit road, put tires on it. Looks like he's going to be okay, but he did get some contact here.
Under caution for the second time. It's a good time to visit down in our pit studio with Susie Culver with our FedEx Race Rundown. Susie?
And Doc, in his 4th race in the chase for the NASCAR Next Up Cup, wide open to start, 6 lead changes in the first 5 laps. And for Matt Kenseth, who came in sitting 11th out of 12 chase drivers, trouble early and often with 2 early pit stops.
He is really struggling. They came into the chase, he and Robbie Rhines and this DeWalt team, trying to pick up some momentum. They had a miserable last part of the season, not living up to their standards, and it continues today.
Yeah, he's had a couple of decent cars that just can't get the good finishes.
See great, and we see the 2 grooves of racing here, Susie. Obviously, this is great for the end of the race because people are going to be able to go high, go low, create some opportunities to stick that car into different areas. We should see a great finish to this race.
We came in with so many unknowns because of that COT. And then one of the knowns, though, Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's won 5 times here. He took the lead on lap 32. He's led most laps.
Does not surprise me at all. He was fast in practice. He's confident. He made the prediction that his car's going to be out front today, and I'm with him. I think that 8 goes to victory lane.
Now with Doc, Denny Hamlin sitting out front now. He's finished 15th or worse in the last 3 races this season. Man, could he use a good performance.
Susie, Denny Hamlin led 48 laps here in the spring, and some late caution flags and trouble on a couple of restarts forced him back to a 21st place finish. Here's one of the chasers, Martin Truex Jr., having his trouble. AB?
Got some damage. Got into the outside wall, Doc, and they were trying to repair the right front fender and some damage to the nose piece of the car.
Right now, he is all by himself on the racetrack. As the song says, one is the loneliest number right now, and Martin Truex in the back of the pack with not much help.
Well, right now he's pedaling hard. Looks like he's going to be able to catch the pack before they go back green, though.
Pace car getting ready to pull away. Denny Hamlin has led 4 times for 18 laps, but the car that has led the most laps is sitting 4th in that line. That's the big Budweiser Chevrolet for Dale Earnhardt Jr. As the pace car gets set to pull away, the drivers are going to go full throttle. Let's go with them as we listen in to their spotters.
Pace car's in. You start the race. Just make sure Tommy can stay with you.
Three wide battle in the turn. Casey Kane in the 9 car. Behind him, the 43 of Bobby Labonte. They are the meat in that sandwich as they come sailing by now over 190 miles an hour.
You can tell right now they've been running single file that last pit stop, before that last pit stop, and now they're trying to make some passes. These guys are getting a little impatient from running single file. As a race car driver, you just don't want to sit there and ride.
Back up front, Denny Hamlin is the leader. Now his teammate, Tony Stewart, right behind him in the 20 car, has yet to lead a lap today. And you lead a lap, folks, you get those 5 bonus points, and Tony Stewart knows he needs those points right now.
These guys are content to run single file a little while ago, but do you think these guys looking for these 5 points, they're not going to be too content to just sit there. They're going to try to pass and maybe get these 5 points.
Yeah, especially Tony Stewart. He wants to get down right now and get those 5 points because he got a little behind last week in Kansas City with what happened there, and he needs all the points he can get.
The chase ticker up top of your screen will show you at the very top, shows you who's running where on the racetrack. And here, of course, the chase ticker shows you where they are currently in the chase for the Nextel Cup.
Here they are again running that high line, all of them single file up in the upper groove.
What about Tony Raines? Give a call to Tony, who's driving not only for a victory, but driving to get noticed and maybe get a ride for 2008.
Well, we talked about Tony Raines a lot, because he's going to lose this ride. But, here's a guy who kept his car up in the points, and he's always done a good job. Except the team's just wanting more, but he's doing good right now.
He got him a fast hot rod today.
He really does. I mean, he's got this car running great. He's staying out of trouble and just following everybody else. And right now, the only line's the top lane.
Second place, Tony Stewart, following his teammate, Denny Hamlin. More on the 20 car with Dave.
And Jerry, you guys mentioned last week, he radioed to his team just before the race started. You know what? It's an understatement to say last week didn't work out so well. But, he commented this week to the press on his Sirius Satellite radio show that he thought NASCAR did the right thing when they restarted the race, when they gave the fans what they were looking for. They did the right thing. He says, I don't want weather to be a determining factor in these final 10 races, even though it didn't work out for us. The one thing he does need to do, you guys brought that up as well, he needs to get up in front at some point and get those 5 extra bonus points.
And they coming off that disappointment a week ago where Tony Stewart finished back in 39th position, now following his current teammate and right in front of the 5 car. That's his teammate for next year, Kyle Busch.
We're talking about teammates. I remember this 11 and 20 at Daytona, the last restrictor plate race running up front. And I think maybe Tony said, I'm going to cool it a little bit here today, and I'll get those 5 points before the day's over.
It's amazing that Tony's not talking on the radio back and forth the 11 car going, hey, let me lead a lap here. I'll get back in line if I can, but I want to get this 5 points now. I might not get it later.
If you're in the 20 car, do you do that? Do you make that request through your crew chief to the 11?
Absolutely. I'm on the radio right now going, hey, tell Denny that I want to get 5 points, and when I get them, I'll give the position back. And what's going to happen? A 5 car needs a guard for him, but he can't because he's on a different team now. If that was next year, they could all 3 be talking, but right now, can't get her done.
The 15 car of Paul Menard, and remember that's one of the DEI cars, has the same engine package that Dale Earnhardt has on board, so you know it's stout. Take a look at our sprint speed lap and look at Paul Menard. Is he sprinting somewhere in a hurry? His last lap, 194.6 miles per hour. He's in a hurry.
That draft's worth a ton, especially when you get back in a group and you've got this one big group in front of you and you're the head of the next, and you can just zoom up through there in that vacuum.
Yeah, especially if you use it correctly, too. And he did. He was almost 2 miles per hour faster, so he knows how to get her done.
72 laps of 188. There have been 20 lead changes among 13 different drivers. Right now, it's a Joe Gibbs parade up front. Denny Hamlin and Tony Stewart running 1-2. You're watching ESPN on ABC.
ESPN's coverage of NASCAR Nextel Cup Series on ABC. Brought to you by Allstate, the official insurance sponsor of NASCAR. Gillette Fusion Power, the best shave ever. And Coca-Cola, thanks for drinking.
Back at Talladega Superspeedway, 41 cars on the lead lap, and folks, 42 cars in the lead draft. Aerial coverage brought to you by Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for over 50 years. You can see that lead draft right there, courtesy of our friends at Goodyear. Folks, 42 cars that close at over 196 miles an hour.
Well, the thing I'm really amazed about right now, Jerry, is nobody's pushing issue whatsoever. They're not trying to run 2 or 3 wide. They're just stuck to the top of that track, just logging laps. These drivers came in scared about what was going to happen today. It looks like they're being pretty careful.
It's the calm before the storm, if you ask me. I think when these guys start to get down where they can see the finish, it's going to get real, real exciting.
We talked about the inexperience of one driver who had a great qualifying running start 6 in his very first NASCAR Nextel Cup stock car race on a super speedway. Jacques Villeneuve, the former Indy 500 and Formula One world champion. And he is getting some very valuable experience here on this racetrack right now.
Yeah, like I said, it's awful calm right now. I don't know if he knows what's getting ready to happen.
Well, he probably doesn't know later in the race all heck's going to break loose, but he's doing the right thing right now. He's gaining a lot of respect out of his competitors. He's just logging laps and understanding these car tomorrows here.
He really is doing a good job.
Let's take a look at our AT&T Crew Chief Challenge. And the question this week is, which former Indy 500 winner will have the most successful NASCAR career? Will it be A, Dario Franchitti, who will be coming full-time in 2008? Dale Morris Jr., who's going to run that 2 events for gold at Charlotte. And, of course, Martinsville. Juan Pablo Montoya, leading Rookie of the Year point standings. Or Jacques Villeneuve, the former Formula One world champion. Text the word crew to 191 on your wireless phone and send in your answer. The results will be shown later on in the race.
Well, that's a tough one to pick right now because all we've ever gotten to see a lot of is Montoya. So probably the viewers will say it's Montoya. But there's 3 other good choices to pick from once we get to see more of them.
Talking about all the open wheel kings, the former open wheel champions, Indy 500 winners, and other guys from the IRL making the move to NASCAR. We asked Juan Pablo Montoya his thoughts on those moves.
The second biggest sport in America, and who doesn't want to be part of it? That's the question. I've done a lot of racing in my life. I've been in Formula 1, supposed to be the greatest racing on earth, but I came here and I'm enjoying myself 10 times over.
You talked to Montoya, he said, I like racing NASCAR so much, I feel like I'm passing. And when he was an F1, he did a lot of testing that drove him crazy. He feel like he couldn't compete as much as he wanted to. And he'll tell you he loves this. You just heard him 10 times more.
He won the Indianapolis 500. He won the Grand Prix of Monaco, the crown jewel in Formula One. But he desperately wants to win on a super speedway oval here in NASCAR Nextel Cup. And here's some experience for Jacques Villeneuve as he's on the bottom of this 3-wide battle here in the turn.
And that's what he needs to do. He needs to get up to race a little bit so he knows what happens. He's logging laps. He's doing a good job. But, hey, you're not going to learn anything if you just sit by yourself and drive 500 miles. He's got to get up there and scrap with these guys a little bit and see what happens.
Jamie?
Well, Dr. Jacques Villeneuve was asked, why come over to NASCAR for the next step in your career? And he said, well, you know what? In Formula One, it's only fun if you're running at the front. Otherwise, it's boring. Over here in NASCAR, it looks like it's fun all the time. He's having a little bit of fun today.
Car looks pretty clean, too. He doesn't have any marks on it. He's kind of just minding his own business here, and he's getting a little drafting help from Brian Vickers.
I'm sure some of the veterans said if you want to learn, get to the back of the pack and stay out of trouble and follow some of the better race car drivers. You're going to learn a lot about this race. And how about some of the veterans who always use that strategy? Dale Jarrett in the 44 car has used that strategy. He's been to victory lane twice here at Talladega.
And I watched him use his strategy the year that he won his last race up here at Talladega. He kind of hung in the back of the pack. You're thinking, what's wrong? And all of a sudden you look up, he's leading the thing, and he wins the race. Right there at the right time.
Later on next week, Dale Jarrett has called a press conference to discuss his future. What will he say? Maybe a limited schedule in 2008, possible retirement? That's coming up next week as we get ready to go to Lowe's Motor Speedway. One of the cars that NASCAR has been watching closely is the 18 car of J.J. Yaley, who, by the way, had one of the best cars in happy hour here yesterday. But now, Andy, they're watching him because of some possible fluid out of the back of the car.
Could be he's running a little bit hot, maybe losing a little bit of oil there, but don't know what kind of thing he's fighting. He's running fast enough. He's keeping up with these guys.
We look at the back of the car. It's kind of coated with some debris, maybe some oil or something. A little darker looking on that interstate sign, so could be some leaking of oil there causing that.
That's what NASCAR looks for. They look at that back panel. If it starts getting a dark color to it, they know that the car's leaking fluid.
Doesn't look like it's leaking a lot. We don't see any smoke or anything, but you can tell something's going on. Take a look, Kevin Harvick, a little bump drafting going on right now. Backs off the throttle, does just what NASCAR said. Don't push the issue through the center of the corner.
40 car you saw behind Harvick, that's David Strimmy looking for a ride in 2008. That is the car that Dario Franchitti will drive in 2008 here in Nextel Cup.
Look at the lap times right now. The bottom lane of the racetrack looks like it's running about exactly the same speed as the top. They get a lot of run down the back straightaway and enter turn one, and then slow up a little bit dead in the middle.
The thing we used to see is when these cars would get side by side, say part of the way back through the pack, it would separate the packs a little bit. We don't see that happen here. Here's Joe Nemechek in the 78 car having some issues too. He's leaking fluid, getting black flagged by NASCAR. You have to remember he was one of the guys that qualified his car with a qualifying setup. Qualified fourth, had a great run, but these are the kinds of things that these guys were worried about.
And this was an impound race, so they couldn't adjust the cars after qualifying, so they had to go with what they had in qualifying setup. Mike?
Well, Doc, you guys pretty much hit right on it. This team really took some chances with their qualifying setup. They admitted fully coming into this race that they compromised the reliability of this motor so much, in fact, that at one point early in this race, they came down pit road and had to reattach some belts. They had disconnected some belts for qualifying that gave them a little bit extra horsepower, but they fully admitted they took some chances. They knew that this type of thing could happen coming into this race.
But you got to give them credit, though. They went ahead and rolled the dice here. They got the car in the race, which is the main thing. And if they hadn't done that, they wouldn't have, we wouldn't got to do anything.
Absolutely. These are Hendrick engines in the 78 car, same as the 24 car, Jimmy Johnson, and 48. Both those guys, Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson. So you wondered, why did he qualify so much faster, almost 0.6 of a second? Light oil, things like that.
That's the reason, but it does carry these risks with it.
We began the day with 3 different lines of drafting cars. For about 30 laps, we had a single line, and now as we approach the halfway, that second line began to form as side-by-side drafting out comes the bear. And folks, we've always talked about the big one. In the last handful of years, we've been able to go to nearly lap 100 until it breaks loose. Let's hope we go a lot further today. 85, 188 laps in the book at Talladega. Denny Hamlin is our leader.
How about the Cowboys? Led by Tony Romo, Dallas is one of 2 unbeaten teams in the NFC. Buffalo comes off its first win of the season and will host its first Monday Night Football game in 13 years. The Cowboys and Bills at 8:30 Eastern on ESPN Monday Night Football.
Mike, our Susie Culver will be headed up here to join you guys on Monday night. Here at Talladega, it's starting to get a little bit crazy as we head towards the halfway point.
You had to wonder just how much patience these guys really did have.
Well, they're starting to run out right now. They just got a little impatient sitting back, and now it's 3 wide, 2 wide, back and forth. And Michael Waltrip and Runeman is shot to the lead and ran a really fast lap, close to 200 just so long ago, run this team down.
Earnhardt Jr. now in the middle group. He's got some drafting help. 3 lines of cars drafted drafting as they come by. Bottom line there, Jeff Green trying to pull Kevin Harvick and company.
And just a little while ago, they were single file. Michael Waltrip pulled a train to the bottom of the racetrack, drove all the way up and took the lead, and now it's just compacting them all together.
How does that happen, Rusty? You just say, okay, I've had enough patience, it's time to go.
Yeah, they're tired of messing around right now. They're back there long and laps, and they're going, okay, I'm being the good driver I'm supposed to be. Now it's time to go racing. And it's really not time. They're only halfway through this race.
Saw the Earnhardt Nation stand and wave their approval as the 8 car goes sailing by to retake the lead.
And take a look at that. Michael Waltrip behind his old teammate, Dale Earnhardt Jr. And from a long time ago, those guys always drafted great together.
Those guys definitely had some magic on these restrictor plate tracks. It looks like they're trying to heat it back up again.
Let's get you up to speed on the 12 drivers in the chase, starting with Alan Bester.
And we will go at the front of the pack where Denny Hamlin has spent a lot of the race. In fact, I believe he's led more laps than anyone else right now. Hamlin is looking to lead the most laps. Why? Because you get 5 bonus points for the championship for leading the most laps, and he's had troubles in the first 2 chase races. He needs every point he can get. Dave?
Tony Stewart could use some points too, just mixing it up right now, trying to find out where and when his car will work best. He has, first 2 stops, he just put on right side tires. They ran those lefts for a long time. They may still be on there too. They've, I don't believe they've changed those 4 tires yet. They stayed out in the last pit stop. So a lot of wear on those left sides next time he comes down pit road, but no abnormal wear on the right sides, Jamie.
Well, Kyle Busch found some friends at the front of the pack this whole race. That wasn't the strategy to begin with. He was looking to run with his teammates, Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, maybe Casey Mears. He's been running up there by himself because his teammates are in the back of the pack. Guys, what's going on with the 31? Alan?
Jeff Burton just jumped on his radio and said, blow it up, blow it up, blow it up. Jeff Burton, one of the championship chasers, heading for the garage.
I don't know when it broke. It broke something big.
That's just kind of what we worried about with these engines, turning so many RPMs. This is the first one of the big guys that have lost one.
Yeah, Burton was 36 last week and down to 10th in the chase points. Now calls it a day or heads to the garage here on lap number 92. Caution on the racetrack.
Yeah, NASCAR's put this caution out because they're worried about oil and what might be on the racetrack from this blown engine from the 31.
You know, one thing we remind everybody about, you know, the older engines, the older restrictor plate engines ran about 7,200 RPMs, and now these new Car Tomorrow engines close to 8,700 in the draft, a lot more RPM. Drivers are worried about that.
Wow, you see all the fire coming out of the bottom of this thing. This is a big failure, probably a connecting rod or something going through the oil pan, causing all this oil to come out on the header, cause this fire.
Remember, his teammates Kevin Harvick and Clint Boyer also in the chase have the exact engine. Here's the engine just detonating again in the 31.
And just throwing pieces out from underneath it. Jeff did a good job getting it off the track, getting it slowed down, coming down pit road pretty fast, and still getting it stopped and behind pit wall.
Not only did the teammates that RCR have so did the DEI guys.
Look at the bill.
The same engine pack.
Clint's in the bill right there.
It got so hot underneath there. Looks like it got so hot under the back of the 31 car, inner panels started flying out of the car, aluminum pieces. It's just shedding them. Oh, you know what that is? That is the cooler, the pieces that go on top of the exhaust system that keep the heat from getting up to the driver. The NASA-approved heat shields.
And these keep the heat from coming up from the exhaust up into the driver's cockpit area. And when that thing exploded, I guess all these pieces started flying off the exhaust from that fire and that oil.
Yeah, with all those flames, it really melted that stuff and kicked it out.
Now the concern has to move to the other 2 cars for Richard Childress Racing and the 4 cars for DEI, who all have the same engine built by the same group.
I'd be worried about it if I was them, but even all the other guys, this really puts a strain on these engines, this kind of RPM.
Up front, Dale Earnhardt Jr. behind the pace car. Has led twice for 31 laps. They will be halfway this time by. They will complete 94 of 188 laps, but they're going to complete the halfway on pit road as Junior leads them down for their pit stops under yellow. Dave Burns.
Tony Stewart will take on 4 tires for the first time today in the 20 car. Also wants a little bit of an adjustment as well to tighten the car up just a bit, free, especially in traffic. Mike?
Some debate in the 00 camp as to take 4 tires or 2. The initial concern was if they took 2, this thing could go green the rest of the way and they wouldn't have fresh rubber. Therefore, they're going with 4.
And Brian Biggers, the 83 last pit stop, guys. You see him pushing him off the last pit stop.
exactly right. He will not. He loses a couple of spots. Michael Waltrip up 1. Casey Kane up 8 positions. Martin Truex up 10 as they are on pit road working caution number 3 on the day. Back up to these messages in order from our ABC station. Back at Talladega Superspeedway under caution for the 3rd time a day. Now, we've seen a lot of 196-plus mile-per-hour drafting. These cars running side by side, nose to tail, pushing each other, being able to use the air. Now, what we're going to be able to show you here with our draft track is how when 2 cars are drafting up toward each other, they're going to be able to share the same column of air. Now, when the column of air behind these cars turns white, they move into what we call draft lock. 2 guys sharing the same amount of air.
We talked about Michael Waltrip hooking up with Dale Earnhardt Jr. close to 200 mile-per-hour run. Look, it goes solid white. Both cars running the same speed, turn the same RPM, and making some big horsepower by doing this. Solidly locked together. Michael just popped out an over 200 mile-per-hour lap because he was in solid draft lock.
Just before this, he saw Michael Waltrip losing ground to Tony Stewart. As soon as they hooked up in this draft lock, they just zoomed to the front. Look at this.
And they're going so much faster than anybody right now. See, Michael splits away. It breaks a draft. But when they're bumper to bumper, big speeds right there.
Let's watch and see if it can happen again. Michael Waltrip, who was the pole sitter, will lead them down to the green flag just past the halfway point. Great crowd on hand here at Talladega Superspeedway. Waltrip, Casey Kane, Dale Earnhardt Jr. It is Toyota, Dodge, and Chevrolet, the top 3 cars, as they go sailing down into turn 1.
You know, it just makes you wonder if these guys are going to start passing each other again or just kind of hang out long laps. See the bottom lane right there?
Well, there's your answer.
Yeah. They want to get it on right now. We just about saw him get after right before the caution.
That was Hamlin in the 11 car, and the 5 of Kyle Busch that made that daring move to the high side. Now here comes Earnhardt down to the bottom and trying to move underneath the 9 car of Casey Kane. Let's check back in the garage area where Dave is caught up with Jeff Burton.
Yep, and he has climbed out and already had a chance to change clothes by now. Jeff, did you suspect any problems coming into today? We heard about hot under the hood during the test, but did you suspect anything?
No, I think we were, you know, obviously a lot of unknowns. You know, turning 8,500 all day long is something we typically don't do. So you know, we learned something today. Hopefully, I'm extremely disappointed, but I'm not disappointed with our effort. Our engine guys and our car guys, everybody's put a tremendous effort out here. Obviously, this about wraps it up for us for the championship, but you know, we'll just keep fighting. We'll go next week and strap our boots on and go fight and see what we make happen.
Your teammates run the exact same package, Jeff. Do you have any concerns for them for the rest of today?
Well, I mean, I don't know that we're the exact same package, but you know, nobody's experimenting. We don't have anything in anybody's car that we were worried about. But there are a few little differences, but nothing. Actually, no valve train stuff. That's probably what we broke. So I don't know. Well, I certainly hope they don't have a problem. I think our cars are fast enough to get some business done, get in the right line at the right time, and this is the inevitable thing that's going to happen. Everybody's gotten bored out there, and it's starting to get wild again, which is what Talladega is all about. But again, disappointment for us, but I am not disappointed with the effort.
Thanks, Jeff. Sorry you're out. Guys?
Jeff Burton's exactly right. It's starting to get antsy and going to get wild out here. That's what Talladega is all about. Great quote, Jeff, but it is getting wild. The 55 car is there. The 20 of Tony Stewart. His teammate, his Hamlin, is back up there.
Man, that's an understatement. These guys are bumping and banging right now. Back and forth and back to 3 wide right now, and nobody's patient. Look at the 5 car up there at the top of the track. He was getting really excited a little while ago.
In fact, Tony's going to get his 5 points if he can bring it to the line right here.
5 car, future teammate for Denny Hamlin down there pushing the 11 car to help him get by. Now they're going to both pull down and try to go beneath Montoya.
This is what Stewart needed to get right now. These 5 bonus points, he's got them. Now he can just do what he wants. That can be off his mind.
Tony Stewart goes to the top of the chase points as of right now. Gaining 3 spots. Jimmy Johnson, see Clint Boyer, who came in 3rd, sits in 3rd. He was at the top of the points earlier in the afternoon.
You see this 1 lap, Tony Stewart's in the lead. In the point standings, this thing can go right down to the last lap, and I think it goes so fast to make your head.
Oh, yeah, he can go from leading by 3 points right now to being almost out of the ball game right now. By the last lap, it could really tear everything right up.
Remember what happened to Jimmy Johnson in this race a year ago? He was running second here on the final lap and finished 24th because of that contact. It can happen here in a hurry at Talladega.
Yeah, if I was Tony Stewart, just be conservative right now. Lead that draft, but don't lose this thing. I mean, don't have a problem getting a wreck. Because see, right now, he's back in the game right now after that wreck last week.
Five car is the crew chief for the five-car crew chief is Alan Gustafson for Kyle Busch. And we talk about how important it is to make the right moves at the right times here and be patient at Talladega. Here's what Alan had to say.
I think this race here may be the only place your strategy varies a little bit. You know, most every other race you go to win, you know, you go out there to win, do what it takes to win, and put yourself in position to win. I think this race you got to look at Kendrick finish first. You know, you've got to finish the race first. Winning's kind of a secondary thing. You almost go in defense mode when you come here to Talladega.
All about finishing here. People saying go to the finish first. First you must finish. And here, this guy's in the chase talking about his driver, Kyle Busch, and he just wants him to be able to be there so he can be a factor at the end.
These guys can talk defense all they want, and they do play defense till it gets right down to the end of the race. But as soon as it gets down with that 10 or 12 laps to go, there's nothing but offense, man, everywhere you look. And there's longer laps right here. You see he's just taking it easy.
Here's what Rusty was talking about with the 5 car a little bit earlier. Now watch him come up right on the back of the 11 car.
He really got a hard bump draft going there, kind of knocked him around a little bit. Saw how hard he accelerated up and got him in the back. But that's something that NASCAR's looking at right now. They're not going to tolerate a whole lot more of this. You know, you're talking about what the drivers think. You know, when I was a driver and I came in here, if I could get out of this track with a top 10, I was happy. Look, we were all winners. We all want to win. But if you get a top 10, you felt like you started a bullet because anything can happen here.
Not me, man. I want to come out here with the trophy.
Well,
That's what I want to cart out here with.
You're the crew chief, man. You weren't the driver.
So many unknowns, so many variables, and of course a lot of concern here. We are just past the 100 lap mark. It's going to get very serious. Take a look at our 4 lap leaders. Denny Hamlin has led the most laps thus far. You're watching ESPN on ABC.
ESPN's coverage of NASCAR Nextel Cup Series on ABC. Brought to you by Office Depot, the official office products partner of NASCAR. And Chevy, an American revolution.
Back at Talladega, 106, 188 laps are in the books, and Tony Stewart, who has never won at this racetrack, has finished second 6 times as our leader. Vickers, Montoya, Kyle Busch, and Elliott Sadler in the top 5. Pit stops took place just a few laps ago. In fact, back on lap 93. To be able to get these guys back on the racetrack and huddle back up in a single file draft.
It looks like these guys on the bottom are trying to organize a little bit of a draft, trying to see if they can get by this outside lane. And we got 3 cars down there now. Some of these guys are starting to line up.
8 car, Dale Earnhardt Jr. now getting back in line. And Alan, there was a little bit of interesting things happening in the 8 pit during his latest pit stop.
Yeah, Doc, when Dale Jr. just took 2 tires on the right, Ryan Newman behind him took 2 tires on the right. Watch the Jack man in the red uniform there, watching his car leave. Did we do a good stop? We're going to get out first. Well, meantime, here comes Newman. Thunk, thunk, spits that Jack right out. Well, that damaged the left side tires on the 12 car, so he had to come back in and take left side tires and drop to the end of the line on that caution flag. That's why Newman is not up in that lead pack right now.
For more information on pit safety, log on to ESPN.com, search word safety. Boy, what a tough break for Ryan Newman.
Well, that's why you don't turn your back on oncoming traffic. Is that right there? That was actually Jackman's fault. That was not Ryan Newman's fault. These guys need to get that equipment and move it out of the way just as soon as possible. Clear that pit road.
You can tell that Jackman is pretty excited about watching his car leave. He just got his mind off what he was doing. He dropped that Jack and turned his back to the oncoming traffic and almost got run over.
Lots of competitive cars all over the racetrack. Tony Stewart leading here. Vickers, Montoya, Kyle Busch, Sadler. Now, one of the cars that's been very strong here has been the 1 car of Martin Truex Jr. Here's what they had to say on his radio just a moment ago.
Yeah, the cars have been strong, Martin. Obviously, Toyota's, Abraham Dodge's 43 has a Dodge motor and an Abraham Dodge motor. 919, 43.
he's exactly right about the Abraham Dodge engines, because right now Elliott Sadler just took the lead with Casey Keene right behind him. And look at Michael Walker pushing the 8 car at Dale Jr.
Little bump draft there on Casey Keene. You see just how much of a shot that gives him. Here comes Junior on the inside.
And Junior gave him a good shot, and he had so much rhythm, he just pulled down to the bottom and cleared him. And now the 55 of Michael Walker decides he tucked in behind Junior.
Definitely got 2 lines of traffic here with a couple, actually turned into 3 lines of traffic coming off the corner.
Looks like right now it's starting to get racy again, 3 wide racing. Right before that last pit stop, we saw this, and it got broken up, and now it's back at it.
Danny Hamlin right here digging on the bottom of the racetrack, trying to move by the 55 car. He's going to try to get his car right up in line behind the 8 car and push this bottom line by.
It actually looks like when they get a good draft in the bottom, it's the shortest way around the racetrack, and that bottom lane started working. Earlier in the race, it was the top lane.
Still looks like that top lane's got a slight advantage. I know Junior's really working it hard down on the bottom, but the top lane seems to have a little bit of an advantage.
Now here entering turn 3 a lap ago is where the 8 car really showed some muscle when he got to be able to push and be able to run up there with those Dodges. See if he can reel them in again here. The 19 and the 9, the 2 Gillette Abraham Dodges, 1-2, Sadler and Casey Keene.
Kind of funny how this works out. The truck race yesterday, it seemed like the bottom lane was the only lane to be in. You kind of move to the top, those guys couldn't make any ground. But these cars here seem they really like that high line.
And Friday here at Talladega, they had an ARCA race. And in the ARCA race, the second lane and the top lane are the 2 fastest lanes. If you were in the bottom, you were really in trouble. They keep that momentum wound up, and they keep these RPMs up. And that's what you can do when you're in the top lane. The race was going to end right now. Clint Boyer's our points leader with Jimmy Johnson in second. Tony Stewart falling back into third. And Jerry, these points are just getting scrambled every single lap here.
Race number 4 in the 10-race chase for the NASCAR Nextel Cup, and it's getting serious. And in the late laps here at Talladega, lap 111.
Guys, I was talking to Ray Abraham before this race started. He told me, he said, with this new engine combination, that if they got in a car tomorrow, they think it really benefits the Dodges and the Toyotas. They're running close to 8,700 RPM, and that's the power range their engines like to run at. He thinks that Ford and Chevy don't have as good engines right now.
The reason for that is those Ford and Chevy engines are actually running a little past their power peak. They make peak power, say, around 7,800 to 8,000 RPM. These Dodges and Toyotas, they seem to make peak power at a broader range, and maybe even up in that 8,500 to 9,000.
Lap 112. Now, drafting is so critical here, particularly teamwork here in the draft. Now, watch the Gillette Abraham cars get into draft lock, the 9 and the 19.
See Dale Earnhardt and Jr. mind helping him. Let's watch this. Our draft lock is getting ready to go solid white right now. They're in a perfect lock.
Caution on the 1 car, roughing an engine.
There's another one of those RCR DEI engines.
Remember Richard Childress Racing and Dale Earnhardt Incorporated.
Stay straight.
Those 2 companies have merged, especially under restrictor plate programs, and now we've had 2 failures out of that camp right now.
Mark Truex Jr. did a great job not to spin the car out. He got in the grass right there. Sure, he had a lot of oil and stuff on the tires.
So the second of our chasers having engine trouble. The 31 car, Jeff Burton, exiting on lap 98 with engine troubles. And here on lap 113, watch the 1 car, left of your screen.
Very similar to what Jeff Burton had. You don't see any fire, but you still see the smoke coming out both sides of the car. Can't see inside the car either. Martin's probably not even able to see it all right here. We're riding with Martin Truex right here.
Middle clear.
You see all that smoke instantly. Can't see it.
A lot of time, that's what it looks like looking out the front of the windshield too, guys. You just can't get the vision. Right now, he's turned around backwards on pit road. Did a good job keeping her off the track and went down pit road backwards, and they're getting behind the wall, keeping the oil off the track.
Kevin Mannion and company trying to get him back there to take a look now from Harvick's onboard camera. Watch.
He's on the bottom. Stay up high. Everybody still straight.
That's a driver's nightmare when you're trying to drive through all that smoke and can't see anything, and you're running the speed these guys are running.
Lap 114, we should get pit stops, and here they will come. Truex had issues. Elliott Sadler, Casey Keene will lead him down. Let's go down to Dave.
And this is a bit of a break for Casey on that last pit stop. They didn't get him quite full of fuel, so they would have had to pit early, or at least with the first group of cars. He'll take on at least 2 right side tires, Mike.
Sorensen's still struggling with a little bit of overheating. He'll take more tape off the grill. No tires, fuel only for the 41. Jamie.
And Ryan Vickers came in 4th position, 4 tires, fuel. Car seems to be fine despite that transmission problem earlier.
Elliott Sadler pits from the lead, and he's already gone. Just right side tires on the 19 car, and they top up.
There's the race off of pit road. Sadler, as you heard Alan say, right sides only. He will keep the lead. Earnhardt Jr., the big gainer. Casey King, the big loser in that exchange on pit road. Back in just a moment. Back at Talladega Superspeedway, Martin Truex has climbed out of his car in the garage area, talking to Steve Mill there. Engine has come unglued here on lap 113. Left side of your screen, watch this plume of smoke. As you see the engine just come apart. What happens when this happens on the racetrack? Let's go down to our ESPN Dish Tech Center and Tim Brewer.
Thanks, Jerry. What we're going to show you here, folks, we're anticipating a lower end failure right here. That's more than likely, like Andy said earlier, light oil. You see these motors today, they're turning 8,700 RPM. That's devastating. But when these parts break, folks, step over here. We're going to show you what all the smoke comes from. When all the parts get to bouncing around down through here, they're going to knock all the holes in the oil pan, knock the oil lines off. All that oil comes out. These headers are cherry red. That's where all the flames come from, like Jeff Burton's car, as well as Truex right then. RCR having a bad day here at Talladega.
Great explanation, Tim. For more information on engines, log on to ESPN.com. Search word Tech Center. Examining exactly what happened to that car. Now remember, there were 7 cars with that engine package here today. 2 now are in the garage area. We'll tell you who the other 5 are as we get set to go back to the green flag here on lap 115. Nods of Elliott Sadler leading him down. Tony Stewart behind him in the Chevy. Juan Pablo Montoya third, and Reed Sorensen is 4th spot in the Dodge. Come up to full speed. Let's visit with Martin Truex, who's in the garage area with our Dave Burke.
Yeah, and he's had a chance to talk things over with most of the team, including the motor guys. Martin, could you tell it all what part of the engine gave way?
Yeah, the bottom end came apart. Not sure what happened, but motor was running good. Car was really good, and got in a little altercation there at one time, and lost on track position. We were getting back towards the front. The car was really, really fast. I was real happy with it. And it's just frustrating, you know. The last 3 weeks, just we've had great cars capable of winning every race, and we just can't seem to find any luck. So we'll just keep going. We'll try to win races. You know, from here on out, let's do the best we can. And you know, we're way back in the points are not looking good, but we can still win a bunch of races. So we'll just go have some fun.
Trying to keep positive attitude. That's Martin Truex, guys.
Truex, a second, of course, in the garage area with engine trouble of 31. Also there with Burton. The other 5 guys who have that engine package are still on the racetrack are Kevin Harvick, Clint Boyer, Paul Menard, Eric Almirola, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Those are the 5 cars that have the exact same engine package as the 2 we just saw fail a moment ago.
You know who I think's looking racy right here is that Juan Pablo Montoya. He's got one of those Dodge engine packages we were talking about earlier. Looks like he's got a really great race car here, and so is his teammate Reed Sorensen in the 41 car right behind him.
And I just saw the 8 car, Dale Earnhardt Jr. coming through the last turn 4 right there. Got very, very loose. That car got way out of shape. Got wiggling big time to gather to back up. But that's the first car we've seen get loose out there all day long.
Most of these cars are just glued to the racetrack. You don't see them get out there at all unless they get contact.
Elliott Sadler, Tony Stewart, and Juan Pablo Montoya doing awfully well up in the Dodge. Speaking of Juan Pablo, and drivers coming over from open wheel. Revealed the results from our AT&T Crew Chief Challenge, and the question was, which Indy 500 winner will have the most successful NASCAR career? Montoya, boy, it's a close one. A lot of people believing it. I'm one of them that Sam Hornish is going to be very good when he gets here and gets to run full-time, if he does, or come run part-time in Cup. And, of course, Villeneuve and Franchitti both getting votes.
I think the edge comes just like Rusty said. We've seen Juan Pablo Montoya run well and win races on a road course, so haven't seen these other guys what they can do yet, but don't tell me.
Well, you know, Sam Morris is going to run good. The guy's just too good of a driver driving that Penske team right now. Just had some really bad luck trying to get these cars qualified. But that's one fellow you know knows how to drive. One Indy 500, several big races. He can get it done when he gets in there.
Yeah, Sam's going to be at Uaw Ford Speedway and Martinsville. They're on the next 2 events here, so hope he'll be able to get qualified and get some laps in the Cup car. Lap 119 of 188. Let's bring you up to speed on the 12 drivers in the chase, starting with Dave Burns.
And Tony Stewart trying to have a good day out there, a good finish to the day. Has finished second here multiple times. And speaking of 2, that is the number of tires he took on that last stop. 2 right side tires, playing the back and forth game. That was for track position, and he got it. Mike?
I guess the best way to describe the emotion coming into this race is apprehension. However, Kurt Busch was one of the very few drivers looking forward to this race. He feels like restrictor plate racing has been a strength for Penske Racing. They finished 3rd in his last 3 restrictor plate races and running strong once again today. Alan?
After having trouble in the last couple of races here in the chase, Denny Hamlin talked before this race about taking a couple more chances, needing to get aggressive and try and go for it a little bit more than he had been earlier. Hamlin has been one of the front runners in this race all day. Right side tires only on their last stop. Was 10th the last time they crossed the start-finish line, Mike.
And Alan, I just spoke with the engine tuner for Kevin Harvick in regards to the engines that have been lost with Jeff Burton and Martin Truex Jr. Asked him whether or not he was concerned. He said no. Reason being, they're running their car a lot cooler and the RPM's a lot lower than those 2 guys. So right now they're feeling pretty confident the 29 will survive.
And Kyle Busch in the 5 car back in 27th, the farthest back he's been since the beginning of the race. But this is all part of his strategy. He's finally found his teammates and Jimmy Johnson right behind him. So they're going to work together, watch the 48 and the 5 work together to go to the front. Dave?
Jamie with a 4-tire stop on that last pit stop. Carl Edwards has set him up for a possible 2-tire stop at the end. But the main thing is he's still in the race. Remember earlier Biffle talked about hitting him when he got spun by the 38. Carl radioed about that. Wow, I thought we were done. That was really close. Jamie?
And Jimmy Johnson, who I mentioned, I asked his crew chief, Chad Canals, is this all part of the deal, hanging in the back? He said, yeah. He said, I know it's boring for you guys at home, but he said, just wait. Give us about 15 more laps. We're going to hook up with our teammates, and we're going to make a run for the front. Dave?
And the 17-car Matt Kenseth recovered from earlier problems. There was actually a wheel weight off a right rear tire that came off the 17 car, so that was one of the vibration issues he had earlier. Thinks he can race here at the end. Had a 4-tire stop, is set up for his last stop. Again, being one of those quick 2 or no tire stops. Alan?
Jeff Gordon's been hanging around in the back all day. They've pitted a lap later than the lead lap cars could all race. Why? Trying to stay out, lead a lap, get 5 bonus points for the championship. Problem is, somebody else has had that idea every time. They've not yet led today. Gordon, he's got a good car, but still hanging around. Jamie?
And Clint Boyer pitted 1 lap later as well from the rest of the pack. Why lead a lap and get those 5 extra points? Now Boyer came over the radio after he heard his teammate Jeff Burton blew. He said, man, I've got a vibration. I'm worried it's my engine. They said, calm down, come in, we'll check it out. It turned out it was the set of tires. The vibration is gone, and Clint's feeling a lot better about the situation. Doc?
Great update, folks, and I guess when you heard teammates had an engine trouble, you hear some vibrations, it can start to play, your mind can begin to play games with you here. Clint Boyer, very concerned. Fortunately, it was not an engine-related issue. Elliott Sadler, 32-year-old driver, leading the way here with 65 laps to go at Talladega Superspeedway. Back after these messages and a word from our ABC stations.
This telecast is available on ABC HD, presented by DLP HD TV.
When you're in the draft, there's a pocket of air that allows your car to go faster. When somebody's tucked in right behind you at Talladega, sometimes there's the 3 wide, the 4 wide, and it's definitely very nerve-wracking. But you can't back out of it because there's guys right behind you.
Things always change. It's constantly evolving around you and which line you're in, which cars are moving. It's hard to make plans or make friends, and it just seems like everybody does what's best for them all the time.
In the draft, I mean, it's kind of a popularity contest. You can watch certain people pull out. If 1 or 2 guys decide to go with the person, it makes a huge difference.
Some people probably talk about it before the race. What I've found through the years is that it just never works out. So it's kind of more just seat your pants thing.
Talladega's, it's basically just a chess match at 180 miles an hour, which sounds kind of crazy, but it's a lot of fun if you have a fast race car.
And whether it's the COT or the old car, on this track at Talladega Superspeedway, you have to have it ready to start.
You absolutely do. And you're going to hear guys making deals right now for the next 50 laps, trying to put themselves in position. And then with 10 to go, you're on your own. So right now there's deal making going on all up on top of that roof of those spotters and everyone they're talking, trying to position these cars so they can have a shootout with 10 to go.
And speaking of those partners, the 16, the 17, making it work.
How much longer you want to keep doing this? You got a plan what you're thinking about doing? No, Ruben was wanting to go right now, but I think one more fuel run here before we go. What I think we should try is everybody stay on the white, on the yellow line with their lefts. Not waver. Stay bumper to bumper on the yellow line and try and go to the front. And who cares if people drop down in front of you or whatever. Just even down the straightaway on the yellow line. Don't let nobody side draft you. Don't let the center. They won't be able to come up the middle because we won't be cleared out of the yellow. And just see if we got enough speed to try and get up through there.
Team strategy and discussions. Greg Biffle, right of your screen in the 16 car. Matt Kenseth with his teammate, the 6 car, David Reagan, right behind him.
We can tell right now that Matt Kenseth, he's just getting a little tired of this. How much longer I got to play around back here and just kind of be park throttle, mess around? It looks like Greg Biffle's is the guy leading everything. Hey, let's just wait a little bit. Let's wait for another pit stop. Andy, I don't think I've ever heard this much team talk going on about what we're going to do and not go.
Now, this is kind of interesting to hear these guys talking like that because they've got a strategy now to get to the end of the race and try to get these Fords up front.
Well, you see, Matt Kenseth, he's just getting a little bit impatient right now playing this strategy. He wants to get it done.
Watch the 5 car being, how about being aggressive? Watch the 5 car of Kyle Busch and the 12 of Ryan Newman here. Now watch Newman's head in the windshield. Look right into that 12 car. It's bumped.
Wow. You can see getting whiplash bump right there. That was a pretty good shot.
That's a great shot right there. I mean, his head went straight back into the headrest of that car. And folks, that's how violent this bump drafting can be. And if that happens in the center of the corner, you got a big problem. We can turn this car clear around on you.
Those guys sailing by Kevin Harvick. They were 3 wide, 4 wide versus second.
All right, here we go now. These guys are starting to get wound back up again. 3 wide, sometimes 4 wide. You see him coming through the center of this pack right now. They're all getting impatient. 57 laps to go.
At the beginning of our telecast, you heard Alan Bestwick talk about it's a ticking time bomb at Talladega. Typically, after the 120-lap mark, it starts to get crazy. That's when you start wondering and worrying even more about the big one. There are 3 lines now, nose to tail in the draft at 196, actually 197 miles per hour.
And right now, you heard them say, can I go now? When can I go? It's like they're just waiting to be turned loose by their partners, their crew chiefs, their team owner. And like I said earlier, I haven't heard much of this in the past. But today, they're so worried about the car tomorrow being easy out there.
There's got to be so many guys out here wondering, how am I going to get to the front? And the only way to know is to get out here and mix it up with these guys and try to figure out who do I need to run with? What line do I need to be in? And you can't do that just in the riding single file. They got to get out here and race.
Well, one guy I don't think is going to play around much longer is 55 car Michael Waltrip. He's got a good car. He's got something to prove. He's had some bad luck. He wants to win this race bad, so I expect him to really get it on.
Getting shuffled a little bit right here, trying to make this inside lane work. He's been working that bottom line of the racetrack, trying to make it work.
Michael Waltrip, it has been 144 races since his last win that came here at this racetrack in September of 2003. He was the pole sitter, driving that Toyota there in the middle. 27 car, Jacques Villeneuve has had some contact with the wall.
Looks like he's got the right front fender bent in.
Flat a little bit. Just ran against the wall. I don't know. I don't smell any.
Might need to get that car in against the right side. Here goes Tony Stewart.
Tony Stewart goes back to the front. Bobby Labonte behind him in the 43. Juan Pablo Montoya lines up right in front of Reed Sorensen. It's a Dodge parade behind Stewart.
And take a look at Reed Sorensen again. This kid's been solid all day long, not making any mistakes. Been one of the fastest guys in the Ganassi camp with Felix Sabatas. See him hooked up with his teammate, Juan Pablo up top.
How about Johnny Sauter? Give a call to Johnny. He had that great run at Richmond on the 3/4-mile short track with a top 5 finish. He's leading that draft with Elliott Sadler and Denny Hamlin right behind him in the middle group.
Well, right now you see 43, the world's best drivers out there, and you got to include Johnny Sauter involved in that because of what he's done in the past. And he's looking great right now again.
Gets a good little jump right there. This center line looks like it's organized pretty well. We got Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that center lane.
A lot of times when you're in the center lane, the aerodynamics can't attach to the rear spoiler as good and let you run faster. The air actually can't attach. Makes the air dam in the rear spoiler, which in this case is the rear wing, a little less effective. Makes you go faster in the straightaway.
Uh-oh, got a little bump grafted in the corner right here, and I'm sure this is just a chain reaction deal. You saw the guys going down the straightaway, wiggling back and forth, and that was because they were actually touching and wiggling, moving the back of the car in front of them.
And this is where hand signals is very, very important. They're so tight right now. They want to use their hand signals, but the driver behind, like we talked earlier, can't really see them that good. This closing rate is something they really got to be careful with right now.
Moving in on 50 laps to go. Tony Stewart now getting passed, or almost getting passed by his teammate. They are 3 wide. There were 10 cars in the outside lane, 9 in the middle, and 8 in the inside.
Wow, I think Johnny Sauter put it really close on Tony Stewart.
Well, they're all really close right now. There's just not much room for error at the moment. This is the tightest we've seen them all day long. And now you see the last car, Joe Nietzsche on the bottom. He's just dying to get out of the way right now.
Riding along with Danny Hamlin, bump drafted to 19 of Elliott Sadler, trying to push him by. And the 8 car showing smoke, the engine. The engine woes have bitten the 3rd car. Today it is the 8 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Another DEI Richard Childress engine.
In the middle, still got cars inside and outside there.
Caution is out here. They're just going to have to clean this mess up, make sure there's nothing on the racetrack.
3 of the big Chevrolet teams today with the same engine partnership having problems. This has got to be killing Richard Childress right now.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., the 3rd of the 7 cars that have the same engine combination. We're told, is there some potential damage on the 24 car from when everyone was trying to whoa up behind that 8 car with the engine problem? I'll show you what happened to Dale Earnhardt Jr. a moment ago, right side of your screen.
And look at that, a real compacted draft, really tight in the draft. Engines are really singing right now. Big RPMs in this tight draft.
Boy, when this happens, that motor just stops running, and now these guys have to find somewhere to go.
And look at Michael Waltrip. He's totally blind, and he finally gets some vision and gets around the outside of Dale Jr. Let's take a look from the onboard of Michael Waltrip and what it looks like.
That air just buffing around there. That smoke comes through.
Motor, just hold what you got. Keep coming, keep coming. Caution's out, caution's out, caution's out.
It was the 44 car that got the damage, not the 24. Spotters were saying there's damage on a car, and here it is, Dale Jarrett, who was just trying to ride back there and stay out of trouble to be able to make his move with this Toyota, which has been very strong, biding his time, and it just it wasn't meant to be.
And he was doing a great job doing that. He was 20th when I last glanced at Dale Jr. or Dale Jarrett, staying out of the way right there, riding along, doing what he had to do. Gets caught up in his misfortune here.
6 DNF due to engine problems for Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 2007. 4th in the last 11 races, and that kind of problem is what the reason he's not in the chase, because otherwise he's run very, very well.
And this one is a heartbreaker for that team, because this was one race that they felt so confident coming in, and to have that engine problem, I know it's got to be really disheartening.
Yeah, last race for Tony Eury Jr. at this track with the DEI team. Now he's moving over to Hendrick. And you got to feel bad for Dale Jr. because, Jerry, you hit it on the head. If he wouldn't have had these engine problems, he'd have been in the chase for the championship. He might even be leading the points right now, because every time I look at that car, he's in the top 5.
Dale Jarrett, who has won twice here, hoping to get a chance to maybe go to victory lane today. His day comes up short. Here come the Budweiser guys. Now they know they're losing their leader after today, Tony Eury Jr. You just mentioned the cousin and crew chief, longtime cousin of crew chief, should say, for Dale Earnhardt Jr. going over to Hendrick Motorsports after this weekend. Blown engines today. There are the laps. Jeff Burton, the first victim. Martin Truex, and led the latest, of course, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Still 4 more cars on the track with the same engine package. That's Harvick, Boyer, Menard, and Eric Almirola. Dale out of the car, surveying the damage, trying to catch his breath after hanging on for 137 laps. The pits will be open here. We are 51 laps away from the checkered flag. Pit stops become the business on pit road. Here's Dave.
and the Casey Kane car having a great run today. Casey said something happened good last week at Kansas. It's happening good this week too at Talladega. 2 right sides is all, Jamie.
And Brian Vickers pulls into his pit box. They just yelled last command was fuel only. They're not taking tires on this 83. Said it's a great car. You see them, they're going to push them off because of the transmission issues. Let's go to Alan.
Bottom left frame, Elliott Sadler, fuel only on the 19 car. Sending him out, tell him to watch his outside and clears the cars around him.
Race off of pit road. Johnny Sauter gains a spot. Will leave there. Elliott Sadler up 3. You see Bobby Labonte up 5 positions. Great job by the 43 crew for the King Richard Petty. And of course the loser there, Dave Blaney, back 3 spots. Under caution, you're watching ESPN on ABC. Back at Talladega Superspeedway under caution for the 5th time today. The engine of the 8 car, Earnhardt Jr. erupting. Debris involved the 44 car of Dale Jarrett. Now, the draft here, very critical. It can help you, it can hurt you. It's all about the politics of the draft and how you use the air and the cars around you, as our draft tracks will show.
Take a look at the 19 car of Elliott Sadler behind the 70 car of Johnny Sauter. Sadler's going to get close to him, and when he gets up there, you're going to see these cars go complete into draft lock, run exactly the same speed, and man, the speed they pick up, there it goes, complete draft lock. And folks, take a look at this as they're going down the front straightaway, completely locked up together right now, running the same speed, really picking up a lot of RPM. And look how it takes Johnny Sauter and just shoves him right into the lead, passing the 83 car Vickers on the inside, and that was a lot of momentum right there.
Every time you see these cars get in that draft lock, when it turns white, they take off, and you see the other cars around them. None of those guys were that close together. As soon as you get, nose to tail, it is a huge advantage.
In other broadcasts, you always hear talk about aero loose and talk about aero push, all that stuff. But here, none of that's really coming into effect. It's all about getting locked up in the draft and picking maximum RPM and speed up.
Pace car pulling off. Johnny Sauter, you saw the pit work a moment ago. Sauter will lead him down. Elliott Sadler, Tony Stewart, Casey Kane, and Ryan Newman, the top 5. 49 laps to go at Talladega. Over 150,000 die-hard stock car fans on their feet. 24 car, Jeff Gordon coming down pit road.
This is very unexpected right here. He's going to lose. He's going to absolutely lose the draft and probably lose a lap. It's a penalty, a pit road penalty, because they were moving equipment.
We're going to get yellow. Watch speed. Watch speed.
That was a penalty from NASCAR for removing equipment from the pit stall.
And he's trying to pump up his driver now. Right now, you heard him talking. We're going to get a caution. Don't speed down pit road. Don't get us another one. So Jeff Gordon right now is on a hot seat.
Tony Stewart shuffling toward the front now. He takes the lead, pulls down right in front of the 9 car of Casey Kane. There's Juan Pablo Montoya behind Kane. Then comes Sauter.
Man, I have been impressed with that Juan Pablo Montoya, man. He has been making aggressive moves. He's got a great race car. And now he's hooked up with one of his other Dodge teammates there with Elliott Sadler.
And
I'm sorry, Casey Kane in the 9.
You say Casey Kane in the 9 and Montoya, the Dodge engines have been really good today. We talked about this car tomorrow. And Montoya, he's got enough experience right now, Andy. He gets Talladega. He understands how to run this track.
Let's show you what happened with Jeff Gordon. Now, he was serving a pass-through penalty at 55 miles an hour. Now, watch as Jimmy pulls out. Watch the hose there.
See, that hose looks like it hooks the rear bumper, and the air wrench, it pulls the air wrench completely out of the pit box. And NASCAR imposed a penalty on these guys. See here, the tire changer's finished. He's holding his air hose, and he gets hung right there in that wheel opening. Man, that's a tough break for those guys.
Oh, man, that air wrench about 3 foot out of the pit box. But, hey, there's no tolerance in NASCAR. You know, if you're out of the box, you're out of the box. And that's one thing I can tell about them. They're consistent in their calls. They really are. But, boy, that's hard to take. Really hard to take.
46 laps to go, and the latest heartbreak in terms of engine troubles was Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's standing by with Dave Burns.
And with Dale Earnhardt Jr. now, who is managing a smile. I know it must be tough, though, because this is a place you could win.
Ain't that bad, you know. I mean, if this is the worst thing that could happen. I mean, we had a good day, and we're all in one piece, and you know, we've had a string of motor failures today with with 31 to 1. But you know, they built good stuff. We tested down here. We all worked really hard together and tried to bring a good package. I'm just really proud of all that effort and how our car ran today, and proud of my team. We had a good car. We led some. We got the people on their feet, and I was hoping to win it. I thought I could win it. So you know, you got to be around team. We just had some tough luck, but I'm a little, you know, more concerned. I feel really bad for Martin because they got a great team to win this championship, and that hurt worse actually seeing his motor break, but we'll be all right.
Now talk about the day, Junior, just in terms of racing that car on this track. Looked like you had a handle on it.
Yeah, what y'all think? You know, right?
Good show.
Really? I don't know what you're watching. All that around the top, ain't that boring?
Well, single file, but you were just starting to mix it up. What were you finding as far as Dyson with the other cars?
Get to the lead so we can all run at the top single file. That's all we're trying to do. I don't think it's where it needs to be right now. There's obviously probably another way to get the package to do better. It's not necessarily the COT itself, just the combination of the wicker and the plate probably, just getting the right combination. And, you know, they didn't have any prior idea of how this is going to go. So, you know, we got to take it easy on NASCAR, can't be hard on them, but it was really booring riding up there, first, second, fourth, whatever. He just had nothing going on, you know, and just be sitting here doing nothing for no reason just didn't make any sense to me. But I liked it when we were battling and racing, and that's why when we got in the back, we kept trying to go to the bottom to get to the front.
Oh, trouble on the racetrack, trouble way up high, and we now have the big one here with 44 laps to go, the 5-car involved. McMurray's there, Rudeman's involved.
A lot of torque race cars here. Chase contender Kyle Busch, he's in major damage on the number 5 Chevrolet in his car. Jamie McMurray with the front end knocked out. He's going good. He's window net still up on the car. He's okay. A lot of damage.
15, Paul Menard involved. One of the DEI cars. 00, you see getting it righted there. That is David Rudeman. He's involved. There's the 00 of Rudeman at that great qualifying run. Best career start in a Cup car this weekend. Heavily damaged, trying to limp back to pit road.
You just wonder when this was going to start to happen. You're starting to get a little anxious out there. Laps are winding down. 43 laps to go. We're talking about maybe running close to 40 laps on fuel. These guys might come down pit road again now, another splash of gas, and try to make it on fuel.
Let's show you what happened. Watch the 43 car. Watch the 12 in front of the 43 of Bobby Labonte.
Looks like Bobby Labonte just lost the car up against the wall.
Yeah, Bobby really didn't have anybody around him. It looks like they just maybe a possibility a right front tire went down or the car just got flat out from underneath him and got loose. It just took off.
As much grip as these cars have, as good as they handle, I can't believe that you just actually lose the car like that without having some kind of a problem.
Car just abruptly turned left. It came all the way down and got Kyle Busch. That chain reaction then gets Robbie Gordon and then several others.
And Matt Kenseth's got a big piece of that. Got his car tore up, got the right front corner damage, and Matt Kenseth's car from this last accident. So we got 2 chase contenders tore up right now because of this latest incident.
Oh, Bobby just turned around on it. I don't really get why that happened like that.
Yeah, that was really peculiar.
20 car in, Tony Stewart topping off.
These guys are setting up now for the last run.
Others coming on, 43 laps to go. Let's go down to Mike.
Hey guys, we're trying to catch up with Brian Vickers right now. He's sitting inside his car. Team's still going to work. And Kurt Busch on pit road going to service as we're covering the garage right now, guys, just trying to gather some of these victims.
And Denny Hamlin got some damage in the accident. You're looking at the left side of the car. The right rear corner of this 11 machine has been torn apart in this accident. They've changed the tires. Now you see the crew going back around to the right side to try and fix the damage. One of the championship chasers came on the radio right after the wreck and said, "We're in it, we're in it. Gosh, we're in it."
Another driver having engine troubles in that same field, the 29 car. Mike?
And Doc, I spoke with engine tuner Ron Liddell for the 29 car a little bit earlier. He told me there were no concerns until the 8 blew up. When that happened, he walked down off the pit box, tapped me on the shoulder, and said, "Now I'm worried." You can see why. The 29 car having some problems. They may have lost a cylinder.
So now 4 of the 7 cars are having trouble. Make it 5 with Paul Menard, who did not have an engine trouble. He's involved in the big one. 8 cars involved in contact lap 145. Heavy damage here at Talladega.
I'm Stan Verrett, and this is the Sports Center Minute powered by Vizio. The Boston Red Sox are trying to complete a sweep of the Angels in their American League Division Series. And Boston leads right now 2-0 in the 5th inning on back-to-back home runs from David Ortiz and Manny Ramirez. In football, the New England Patriots are 5-0. They beat the Browns 34-17. New England's the first team in NFL history to win its first 5 games by at least 17 points. After getting 12 sacks last week, the Giants defense had 3 interceptions today, and Eli Manning had a pair of touchdown passes, and the Giants beat the Jets 35-24. Yankees owner George Steinbrenner tells the Bergen Record he won't have manager Joe Torre back if the Yankees don't win their playoff series against the Indians. Yankees will try to avoid the sweep tonight at home. I'm Stan Verrett, and that's the Sports Center Minute.
Thank you very much. Back at Talladega, we have had all kinds of activity here. And, of course, the big one, 10 cars involved in an incident on lap 145. You see there are the cars that are involved in the crash. Vickers, who got in the back of it. Bobby Labonte's car spun abruptly. McMurray, Kenseth, the chaser, involved. Kyle Busch, also one of the chasers involved. Show you again. Now watch the 43 car just turn abruptly left.
Looks like Bobby just gets up so high that maybe he just got up in the trash, lost the car.
2 things I saw there. Looks like he was deaccelerating a little bit. Just a little bit, got out of the throttle a little bit abruptly, but had the right rear quarter panel dead up against the wall and maybe got into some of the dirty portion of the track.
Our good hands are moving. The race goes to Michael Waltrip in the 55 car. On behalf of Michael Allstate will donate $1,000 to the Urban and Youth Racing School. Back to Talladega after these messages and a word from our ABC stations. Back at Talladega, our Dave Burns is caught up with Bobby Labonte in the garage.
And Bobby Labonte climbed out from his car right near pit road, just turned in there. It was the turn on the track that looked like a complete surprise.
Yeah, well, it surprised me, that's for sure. And I looked at the right rear tire ends up, left rear tire's up, so I'm not really sure what happened. I mean, you don't fight a problem like that, and all of a sudden just went down the corner, and I mean, the rear end just went out from under it. So I'm not sure. My fault, I know, but I don't know how it happened.
Did you feel anything in the steering, anything?
No, that's what's so weird. I mean, you got me, so with the grip level and the way the cars are, you don't have that. And for some reason or another, it just took off, slid out.
And you had a great run going.
Yeah, ski word was.
Bobby Labonte, he's okay, guys, but obviously very disappointed.
Thank you, Dave. Bobby did have an outstanding run for the 43 car for Petty Enterprises. Speaking of great runs, Tony Raines in the 96 car has been good all year long, not being retained in this car in 2008. And he is looking for a ride, trying to make a statement today. Well, they shuffle it all the way to the bottom of the racetrack in turn 2, and Tony Stewart now making a move.
And he went all the way down the apron in the corner, 4 wide off turn 2.
Right now, 38 laps to go. Somebody wants to get in the front and see if they can hold on to it. Ryan Newman and Kurt Busch, the 2 Penske guys, hooked up.
Any Dodges get going on the restart. Got 3 of them up here at the head of the line.
And now when you get 3 Dodges hooked up because they've been making the best power along with Toyota.
Here comes 2 more Dodges, the 42 and the 41 on the outside of Tony Stewart.
Way up across the top of the racetrack, the Toyota. That's the 22 of Dave Blaney. And the 27, we're being told, is Villeneuve. He's being black flagged for no radio communications.
That's a safety issue. These guys have to have radio contact with their spotters. NASCAR requires that.
These guys should be able to go to the end on fuel right now. We're estimating between 36 to 40 laps on fuel. They think they can run 40 laps, but this is definitely coming out to a fuel mileage race right now. They're going to have to be a little careful with their fuel.
4 Dodges up high, and on the inside lane is the Dodge, the 9 of Casey Kane. How about the two Penske cars. Roger Penske has never won a restrictor plate race. How about that? For all the success he's had over the years, and all the great races you won for him, Rusty, but never at Daytona or Talladega.
We come close many times, Jerry, but never could seem to get it done. A lot of second-place finishes, and Roger's in attendance today watching his car, so he loved getting victory lane with at least one of these guys.
Casey Kane on the inside trying to run door-to-door with Tony Stewart. Stewart's got a lot of drafting help. J.J. Yaley, his teammate behind him, trying to push Stewart to the lead.
You see that center lane really taking off right now. Stewart with help from J.J. And he's going to get up in front of the 12 car, Ryan Newman. He doesn't care about teammates right now. He wants the lead.
Kind of left his wingman down there with the 18 car, J.J. Yaley. And you see how much it hurt the 18. He's losing ground now.
Tony Stewart leads on the racetrack. Meanwhile, back in the garage area, Mike Massaro was caught up with Kyle Busch.
Chase got off to a very good start for Kyle Busch with 2 consecutive top 5s, but the last 2 races seems like things have gone a little bit sour. What happened there?
Just a product of the restrictor plate race and everybody being bunched up in the back. I guess Bobby lost a tire or something like that. So, nothing of his doing. Just came right across the racetrack, and we were the first one that hit him. And it's a shame not only for us and Kellogg's Car Busch Chevrolet, but everybody, all the other guys that got involved in the wreck as well too. And unfortunate for our chase chances, but. We knew that Talladega was going to be our mulligan. We circled it on the calendar that this was the one we're going to wreck in, because every time we come here, it seems as though if there's going to be a wreck, we're right in the middle of it. So, we were hoping that last week didn't happen, but it did. Now this week again. So we'll just go on to Charlotte and run somewhere where we don't run too good. Try to run well there in Martinsville and just keep going. I mean, that's all you can do.
You call it a mulligan. That would seem to me that you think that you could pretty much put this one behind you. How much optimism do you have with 6 races to go that you can pull yourself back into this thing?
Not very much. The team, of course, they want to be optimistic and they want me to be optimistic, but I'm sorry. I mean, it's the realisticness of everything, the realism that sets in, that you try to realize that you're so far back that it's going to take a lot to get back in this deal, and you've got great racers like Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson who are up front, and Tony Stewart, who haven't had much bad luck yet here in this deal.
Guys, you can hear the disappointment in Kyle Busch's voice.
A big blow in the chase and a big blow on the racetrack here for Kenny Schrader, who won his very first race here at Talladega back in July of '88. Schrader was having a good run today in the Wood Brothers JTG car number 21. Gets out and waves at the crowd, and here's the reason for caution number 7.
Kenny Schrader, exact same thing. Looks like happened to Bobby Labonte, happens to Kenny Schrader. He just gets sideways at about the same spot on the racetrack.
Yeah, it's very peculiar, Andy. I mean, I don't know why these guys are getting so loose going on at the entry of turn 3. They start going up at the turn 3 in the middle, and they lose it.
Makes me wonder if there's some oil up there from maybe one of these other engine failures.
Oil on the racetrack, contact, under caution for the 7th time today. You're watching ESPN on ABC. Back at Talladega Super Speedway, stop number 4 of 10 in the 2007 chase for the NASCAR Nextel Cup. Last year's Cup champion, the 48 car Jimmy Johnson, back on pit road under this caution flag. 4 tires, getting that tank full of fuel. As we head down to our pit studio in Susie Culber for our FedEx race rundown.
And Doc, like the first 3 races in the chase, there's been big trouble for these chase drivers, and it started with Jeff Burton.
You know what, Susie, I mentioned this earlier in the race. These guys turning 8,600 RPM all day long. These things wound tight. Thought there might be some motor issues. You heard our Andy Petrie said there's very well could be, starting with Jeff Burton.
And he told us he believes his title hopes could be over. Martin Truex Jr., another blown engine.
You mentioned the concerns with DEI engines, the RCR cohabitation of engines, the problems they've had, and lo and behold, Martin Truex blows the motor next. So we're seeing a pattern here.
And if it's not a blown engine, now this is uncharacteristic for Jeff Gordon, who came in seated 2nd, penalized on pit road.
That is an uncharacteristic mistake, just like you said. Jeff Gordon's won multiple championships because they don't make these type of mistakes. That could have just cost them.
And it was just a matter of when for the big one, just 43 laps to go, 10 cars involved.
Really shows it's the impatience or the mistakes of the drivers. I thought these cars were so stable because they're so big and wide that we possibly wouldn't have that big one, but we did.
Chase drivers Kyle Busch, Matt Kenseth, both knocked out on that one. So who will be left standing? Well, Tony Stewart came in seated 4th. He's leading, Doc. He's been the bridesmaid here 6 times.
Susie, the 20 car of Tony Stewart. By the way, all of the Hendrick cars and Gibbs cars are running the old SB2 engine configuration. The DEI RCR combination, that was the R07 engine for those 7 cars, and obviously they've had some issues here. But neither of the Gibbs cars or the Hendrick cars are in the new engine. They've got the old SB2. As you see Tony Stewart leading here and getting set for the restart.
The guy that needs to be most concerned would be Clint Boyer, the 07. He's showing second right now in the points as they run.
Brad?
Absolutely. Andy and I spent about an hour with Tony Stewart on Friday. He said he did not absolutely want to be anywhere near the lead with the final laps waning. Andy, watching this, he's out front. Do you think he's going to back up? How's he going to get back behind so he can get a run?
I'm not sure, Brad, that he may have changed his tune a little bit. He's been playing with this all day long, and looks like his car's pretty strong when he's got somebody tucked up behind him, just like this 12 car right here. So maybe he changed his mind a little bit, Brad.
Let's listen into some radio communication about between the 12 and the 2.
Sorry, you got me. 10-4, dude. Sorry about the confusion there. I thought you wanted to go to the high side, just kind of stuck up there. That's why I was moving up there. Sorry, I had to switch blocking, but pretty good job there. Our competition here is 20 car. I think you know that, eh? Yeah, 10-4. I mean, I'm not sure where you're supposed to go when you first have a restart. Once it singles out a little bit, the top groove is good, but all hell's breaking loose now. I'll just stick with you, man.
These two teammates figuring it out right here.
When you talk about a fellow that's rebounded right now, Jeff Gordon, the 24 car. Saw his crew chief say, hey, hang with us. We're going to get a caution. They did get a caution now. And Jeff Gordon's in 9th right now. Just moved up to 9th position. 31 laps to go. He's got to get it done now, guys. It's time to fire these babies up and hold them wide open.
Jeff Gordon having to rebound for a pass-through penalty because of the equipment that came out of the pit box. Look, you're talking about rebounding back and now showing back in the top 10.
I don't think we've seen the 24 or the 48 car show what they've got today. I think they've been hanging around the back. We saw the 24 get just a little bit of a penalty, but we got 31 laps to go. I think you're going to see what they've got right here.
I totally agree with that. You see Newman up there in 2nd position along with Kurt Busch. We haven't seen the Penske cars all day long. They've been just kind of hanging out, and now they're up there in the top 5. But one guy's been locked in there all day long is Montoya.
Lots of concerns over the engine situation for the RCR DEI cars. More with Mike.
And Doc, we're catching up with Ron Lydell, who is the engine tuner for the 29 car. You guys have a problem brewing right now. What's going on with Kevin's car?
Looks like it's in the valve train. It's holding together right now and running. It's down in the cylinder, and he's just kind of trying to nurse it around.
It seems like what's going on with your car is symptomatic of a bigger problem. Can you give us any insight as to what's going on with all these motor failures in the Chevy camp?
I really haven't heard what's going on with the other. They come out so quickly. They come out the bottom end. As far as ours, it doesn't seem like it's the same problem, but it's holding together for right now.
Guys, another problem brewing. The 01 radioing in not too long ago saying they've got some problems too.
A lot of concern. Clint Boyer, the 01 back in the garage, the 07 and 29 still on the racetrack. Both of those drivers are in the chase. What's the concern? What's going on down in the Clint Boyer pit? Jamie?
Well, Clint Boyer has been on pins and needles from the beginning, hearing news about his teammate. I just asked his crew chief, Gil Martin, what are your thoughts right now? He said, I'm about to throw up. But you guys, as far as problems, nothing right now for Clint Boyer. He's running strong at 13th.
These guys are just holding their breath right now. That's hoping this thing steady goes.
And never in the past would you see the engines built so closely together, but right now they're all built on computers, a lot of trick machinery that puts them together identical. And so when they machine these pieces of parts, when one goes, they got to be worried about the next. You didn't see that in the older days.
And again, the concern here because they have a gear rule, and these engines are turning anywhere between 8,600 and 8,900 RPMs, a lot more than they've ever turned here consistently at Talladega. 28 laps ago, Tony Stewart has never won at Talladega Super Speedway. He's finished second 6 times. Can he hang on? Welcome back to Talladega Super Speedway. Hard contact for Kyle Petty in the 45 car. Contact with the driver's side of his Dodge to bring out caution number 8 here on lap 162. Here's what happened to Kyle.
So you just come into your picture on the right side of your screen. He loses a left rear tire, goes down on the apron, and the car just shoots straight back up across the racetrack.
Oh, and look at that impact. You saw the soft wall actually move back. And Kyle's got one of the carbon fiber seats, one of the very, very safe seats in NASCAR now, plus the soft wall. And it just this really helps that blow that much better.
Watch the impact now as the car up across the track, probably still over 175 miles an hour, sliding backwards.
Right here is where that softball really does its job. You see it deflect and take a lot of that force out of this impact.
It looks like that wall moved about 6 or 8 inches at least, Andy, maybe close to a foot. Really helps it.
The car tomorrow 4 inches wider, so you can get the front driver more toward the middle. Now some of the chasers on pit road, Denny Hamlin, the 99 of Carl Edwards also in. Carl Edwards getting a pit stop. Here's the 11 car, Denny Hamlin. Damage on the right rear from an earlier incident.
Yeah, needed to come in and fix that right rear corner. It had broken loose from the repairs that they made earlier, and so they have to come in and patch that up and keep that from flapping in the wind. They may also have been asked by NASCAR to fix that. I have to double check on that, though. I'm not positive about that, but needed to patch up the right rear corner on this 11 car.
45 car to window net is down, and they have talking to Kyle Petty. He's been there talking to the safety crews. That certainly is good given that hard impact into the wall here to bring out caution for the 8th time today. We'll update you on Kyle after we take a break. A hard impact at Talladega. The cars of tomorrow have crush zones and energy-absorbing walls to help minimize injury to driver. Back after these messages and a word from our ABC stations. Back at Talladega Superspeedway, aerial coverage brought to you courtesy of our good friends at Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for over 50 years. Now we are under caution for the 8th time, a very hard impact on lap 162 by Kyle Petty in his Dodge. Driver's side first, window net down. Kyle did climb out of the car. Has gone down to the infield care center where Dave has caught up with him.
Yeah, walk away under his own power, thankfully. That was a pretty good hit. What happened? Did you run over something out there?
No. I don't think so. They kept the racetrack really clean. I can't say that. We've had a few issues with balance. Our tires have been out of balance. We had a couple of sets that were out of balance, and that set vibrated pretty good. And then I don't know if one was coming apart or something like that. I don't know what the problem was, but it just came apart going into turn 3. And I got to apologize to Dale Jarrett. Just like I told Glenn just then, I just ran all over him. I couldn't see through his back glass, and when the 8 car blew up, I tapped him in the middle of the straightaway. You know, like he said, well, Dale said the same thing, that, you know, you probably couldn't see through it. And I said, yeah, but I'm 47 years old. I should be smarter than that. That's just, it's just dumb driving on my part. I'll say that. I hate it took him out because he had a good run and he had a good car.
Doc, there's that vision thing again with these cars.
We told you to debut the car tomorrow here at Talladega. Now the 07 on pit road, Andy.
Looks like they're just going to get a little gas and get left side tires. It looks like they're messing with the tape maybe on the front of the car. They've had a little bit of contact right there. They're taping up the front bumper.
Well, let's update a little more on safety by looking at our Chevy Cutaway car and Tim Brewer.
Thanks, Jerry. As well as the driver just staying inside the confines of the seat, the safety deposit there on the side of the roll cage is foam. Absorbs a lot of energy. Safety wall has done a great job, but still yet, this stuff imposed by NASCAR does a great job to let the driver walk away from the wreck. Jerry?
Tim, that foam not only inside the door panels of the new car tomorrow, which is 4 inches wider, which helps absorb energy. Watch the soft water. Watch the wall give actually with the energy and absorb energy right there.
Well, that wall really jumped back out of the way, and I completely forgot about the energy-absorbing foam in the driver's side door and the other side. That really, so the wall helped, the foam helped, and the seat helped.
And you can see Kyle Petty just as fresh as a daisy getting out of the car. Seems to be just fine.
And thank gosh these drivers can hit these walls like this and walk away like Kyle did. He looked like he wasn't even phased.
For more information on door foam, log on to ESPN.com. Search word Autotech. That's the whole reason for the car tomorrow, be able to add those crush zones, be able to get the cars 4 inches wider and put those drivers closer to the middle of the car to provide more of a safety barrier for them inside the race car.
The one thing I want to get to, Doc, the splitter on the front of the car sticks out about 2 inches in front of the bumper. NASCAR says if they come down to a photo finish, it's going to be judged off the front bumper, not the splitter.
Tony Stewart will lead him down. It'll be 22 laps to go when they cross the start-finish line. And folks, the top 8 drivers have never won at Talladega, Stewart included.
Robert Yates put him in the 88 cars. He feels like Mike is one of the best restrictor plate drivers in the country.
He is one of the best restrictor plate racers. He's driven for me, and I'll tell you, he can get it done when it comes time here.
It is only Mike's second Cup start this year, folks. He ran the Daytona 500 and finished 4th all the way from 22nd starting spot, and he is running currently in 6th position.
When you take a look at the 48 car, Jimmy Johnson at the bottom of the racetrack, they are out of time right now with 22 laps to go, and it's time to get to the front. And he is doing that. But take a look at Michael Waltrip. He made a dicey move there with a 19 car, a Sadler. These guys are starting to crank it up now.
Sadler just squeezed his way up in that outside lane. Looked like Michael had to get out of the throttle just a little bit.
Well, earlier today, we saw Michael Waltrip go to the bottom lane and work himself all the way up to the front. He was the one leading that train. He's doing it again now.
One Chevrolet followed by 4 hungry Dodges. That's 1st through 5th. Stewart the lone Chevy, Newman, Kurt Busch, Montoya, and Casey Kane in Dodges.
And you see Michael get back up in the top lane right there with the 48 now back on the bottom. They've got to make something happen here. They've got to get to the bottom. The top's not going to go anywhere.
These guys up front are just locked in line up against that wall.
Yeah, if you're locked in line up against the wall, there's no room to pass in the top, that's for sure. So these guys know it. Look at Dave Blaney right now. He's getting down out of that top lane into the bottom. There he is in the Caterpillar car with Jimmy Johnson behind him. They're trying to make some tracks.
Dave Blaney getting back up there, becoming a factor in the 22 car. Blaney, who had the pit road speeding violation, whoa, up against the wall. One car goes up and rubs the concrete. That backpack is going to run him down, and they are running him down. Blaney leading him up there. There's the 22 car. Blaney pulling the fellow Toyota driver, Michael Waltrip, to catch this pack of 12 cars.
And he kind of hung out the 48 car of Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy was hooked up behind him. He just shot him, left Jimmy stopped on the bottom. I'm not sure this war's over between those two. I think Jimmy's got to stay put. Go for it.
Out the back of the 96 car, you see Jimmy Johnson in the 48. Now he's becoming a factor. This lead draft just doubled in size.
And right now, this race would end right now at 24. Jeff Gordon's got the lead at points by 12 points over teammate Jimmy Johnson.
Michael Waltrip hung out to dry on the inside of the racetrack, got down out of the draft, and they're going sailing right by.
He was just trying to get something going here, trying to get maybe some people to go with him, pull out a line. Nobody went with him.
And you figured if anything was going to happen, Michael was going to be the one. He did it earlier and it worked for him. Took a little taste of it this time, and they said, too early, pal. We're not going with you right now.
I don't think you're going to see anything happen really until you see these front guys start breaking apart. Then these back guys will catch right up and it'll get dicey.
Yeah, but if they're going to do it, they're going to have to do it with at least 10 to go, so they got enough time to get it done.
The 24 car of Jeff Gordon on the lead lap in 9th position. Remember, he is our points leader as of right now. You see the chase ticker at the top of your screen, and right above that, the race ticker telling you where your favorite drivers are running here as the laps are winding down. More on Jeff Gordon with that one.
Jeff Gordon has run around at the back of this field all day long, Doc, including when they got that penalty for the equipment and crew member out of the box back at lap number 153. So now Gordon got a caution, got back up into the middle of the pack, and his team's thinking strategy from here on out.
Sammy says he dropped down there, so he'll drop down there too. Yeah, it's going to be a while, so I don't know. We just have to wait and see. If it shuffles, we go. If it doesn't, we wait. Exactly. I think you're 100% on the money there. We need to be patient. I agree. I'm going to try to stay right here. Sure. You know best, buddy.
Leave it in the driver's hands, and why not? He's had a lot of success here at this racetrack, a 5-time winner here. Jeff Gordon has played it cool all day. Will he be hot when it counts the most?
It's a gamble. It's when do you go and when don't you go. Jeff Gordon saying right now he thinks it's a little too early. I mean, I can see if he went down by himself. They just close that hole up. He'd go dead to the back of the pack. That'd be tough to get back up front.
Anybody knows Jeff Gordon knows how to do it here at Talladega. And he thinks it's a little bit early. He's probably going to wait just a little while. Hopefully he can get with his teammate, Jimmy Johnson, maybe Casey Mears. They get hooked up here at the end of the race.
We're talking about Juan Montoya again. Look at their 4th position, hanging in with that Chip Ganassi, Felix Sabatis team. And what about Reed Sorensen again? 8th position, he's holding in tight. Been strong cars.
Those top 8 drivers have never won at Talladega. Stewart's never won here. Ryan Newman, Kurt Busch, Montoya, Kane, Mike Wallace, Johnny Sauter, Reed Sorensen. Those 8 guys have never been to victory lane at Talladega, and it could be among any of those guys if it's a typical Talladega finish.
Here we got something going down on the bottom. We got the 22 car, Dave Blaney, and the 48 car, Jimmy Johnson. His teammate, Casey Mears, in the 25 car. Now they're making some tracks.
Hey guys, these guys are getting in what we call draft lock. They're getting really bumper to bumper. These 2 cars are becoming one, and right now they're definitely the fastest on the racetrack. Jamie?
Well, with 16 laps to go, check NASCAR chief Jimmy Johnson just came over the radio and said that 25 Casey Mears, your teammate, is coming. They drop down to the inside, as you see there, and they're looking to make a force to go forward to catch up with Jeff Gordon, as you heard Alan Bestwick mention. So watch these Hendrick cars, guys, try to get together and use teamwork to get to the front.
All right, you see the 70 come down now. Johnny Sauter, the last time by. Dave Blaney, 49.40 with his lap speed compared to 50.01 of the leader. So 0.6 of a second faster. And here comes Johnson up the middle.
Now the politics of the draft are really starting to come to the surface.
And you know, the politics, there's no politics. Now it's each guy for himself. Go for it. Get it done. 15 laps to go.
Jimmy Johnson getting help, as you heard Jamie say, from teammate Casey Mears back there. They hung the 70 car out to dry.
Now you see the 48 car, Jimmy Johnson, moved up in that outside lane. Got a little sniff from those lead guys and pulled back down in front of Casey Mears. These guys got a little bit of run on these front guys.
For a little while, it looked like the 48 was going to hang his own teammate out. Thought better of that. Got back to the bottom. And look how they're hooked up in that bottom lane now. They're flat making some speed right now. I call that trucking. Those cats are trucking right now.
They can just get hooked up, just like this right here. If they can just get bumper to bumper.
That's textbook, man. That's the way you got to do it.
Jimmy Johnson, Rusty, 0.3 of a second quicker a lap than is the leader, Tony Stewart, and he is coming in a hurry.
If they stay patient, stay hooked up, they're going to get to the front.
Look at Stewart go to the bottom.
Hey, Stewart knows it. That bottom's quick right now, and Tony, look at it, top to the bottom, bottom to the top.
Whoa, that move might have cost him right there. He went to the bottom and across the top, and he's got no help now. The 2 Penske cars will hook up and go by Tony Stewart.
This car's big, but it's not big enough to block the whole racetrack.
Clear to the top.
Whoa! Contact, the 96 car, Tony Raines involved.
And Michael Waltrip centered after such a good run. Pole sitter involved in the accident also.
Lap 175, there's the damage on the 16 car. Last week's winner, Greg Biffle.
That's too bad for Michael. Man, he had a good car.
He had a great car. Take a look at Biffle.
Tires, Mike? Yeah, I blew it right in front.
Biffle's hanging out in the back, trying to stay out of trouble. He gets himself involved in it.
Watch the contact here. Now, you heard Michael Waltrip say right front, watching her right up across the racetrack.
Just too bad he clipped Elliott Sadler in the process. When that tire went down, he just took off straight right. Poor Tony Raines, too, got caught up in this.
Hold her straight there, hold her straight. Caution's out.
Elliott Sadler gets involved, so does Greg Biffle, who comes up and gets contact with Elliott Sadler. Caution for the 9th time today. Back.
ESPN's coverage of NASCAR Nextel Cup Series on ABC. Brought to you by the Ford F-150, built Ford tough, and Shell, made to move.
Back at Talladega, setting up for a typical Talladega finish. We are under caution for the 9th time. Right front tire. Michael Waltrip said he cut it right front. Watch the 55 go up and just get Elliott Sadler to 19. The 96 and the 16 are swept into it as Sadler comes across, and he will come up and get the front end there of last week's winner, Greg Biffle.
You see that happen too, because Michael had a great car. Been through a lot of bad luck this year. Really did deserve this one, but we heard the tire go down and then up in the wall.
Despite all that contact, Elliott Sadler able to climb out of his car okay. Hard hits. Now let's go back and show you the Tony Stewart situation. He was trying to come across the bottom of the racetrack in front of one line of drafting cars and move back up. But watch a 20 car.
He sees Jimmy Johnson down there, tries to block him and get a little push. No, I'm going to go up here in front of the 12 car.
Man, there's no way, because the 2 car and the 12 car, they're a dead draft lock, and they just blow his doors off. Look how fast it went past him. That's what happened when you get that drafting going on. That's a big speed.
Taking them right on by. You're watching ESPN on ABC. Back at Talladega Superspeedway, setting up for a typical Talladega shootout here in NASCAR Nextel Cup Series action. Ryan Newman, Kurt Busch, 1-2. Montoya back in third. Pace car pulling back on the racetrack. Up in front of the field. They will take another lap under caution. We'll take a quick break and come back with a restart at Talladega in just a moment. Back at Talladega, pace car pulling away. It's going to be an 8-lap shootout here. Newman, Busch, 2 Penske drivers. Remember, Roger Penske has never won a restrictor plate race. One Pablo Montoya. He finished second at the Brickyard 400 for Ganassi and Sabatis. Jimmy Johnson back in 4th spot. Here they come to the green flag. 4 Dodges in the top 5. That's the 27 car that was being shown in 19th position. Jacques Villeneuve, despite contact with the wall and a black flag for radio problems, was still being shown on the lead lap in the top 20.
He's done a really good job today. Kept the car out of trouble.
Here comes Stewart.
And he's got to do it right now. With 8 laps to go, they got to get this second lane working right now. Dave?
Michael Uaw Ford stands by outside his Toyota that tried to win today. Michael, what happened in turn 1?
Just had a flat tire. Went in there and it went down on the inner liner and started to turn, and it just blew the rest of the way out. Unfortunate, the Napa Best Western Clausen Furniture Camry was good, and I was having a great time. It was fun to be up front again. It's a much better view up there.
He started up front, ended the day early, guys, but a great day for the 55.
Top 5 single file, but they are 3 wide, mixing it up in that second pack. 6 on back. Jeff Gordon is there. Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon in front of Casey Mears, his teammate.
And they got to stay hooked bumper to bumper right now. Mike Wallace up in the wall, holds on to it. Skims the right rear quarter panel up in the car. Doesn't lose it. Does a good job holding on to that car.
Great job by Mike Wallace to hang on. There goes Kevin Harvick sailing by.
So right now, Stewart and Casey Mears back in what was the second pack. Trying to get some speed caught back up. These guys are lining back up single file. And if they stay there like that, nobody's going to pass anybody. Somebody's got to make a move here.
These 3 Dodges out front. These Dodge motors are really strong.
We talked earlier about how Ray Abraham was telling us that the power band of the Dodge engine really suits his RPM range. Dodge is running great today.
Folks, Dodge is due in 76 races here at Talladega. Dodge has only won 3 times. They won in 1969. Richard Brickhouse did it. Richard Petty won in 74. And Dave Marcus won in 76. And here comes the bottom line, though. Jimmy Johnson in the Chevy now, trying to move to the inside. And his teammates right behind him. There's Gordon, Mears, and, of course, Tony Stewart.
And you see the 2 teammates of Ryan Newman and Kurt Busch up top. Well, guess what? In the bottom lane, they got 3 teammates lined up. And 3 are generally better than 2. And they're getting hooked up at draft lock. Take a look at the 48 of Jimmy Johnson and all the Hendrick guys right to the front.
4 Dodges up high, 4 Chevrolets down low. And Jimmy Johnson gets pushed right by the 12 car of Newman to take the lead.
Newman and Busch got to figure what just happened right there, man. We were just leading the race. We just got shuffled.
The 25 is basically blocking a little bit right now for the 24. He's got to help his teammates out. He can't move. If he moves, he's going to go to the back of the pack. And then he's got to deal with Tony Stewart. And none of them want to deal with him right now.
They want to win a race, but they also want to win the chase for the Nextel Cup. Mears looking. Here's Tony Stewart looking to the inside. He shoves Mears up high. Stewart takes a spot away.
And now the game's getting ready to change right now. The top lane with the 12 and the 2 could get hooked back up. But Mears is out of it right now. Back to the bottom. And now they got to worry about the 20 now.
Mears just blinked. He looked to the outside just for 1 second. Tony Stewart took that shot.
Now Jeff Gordon right on the rear bumper. Gordon, who's hung at the back of the pack throughout the stay safe. Gordon there watching the 20 car.
Here comes Stewart on the outside.
Well, this is not looking good right now. See the 12 and the 2 lining up behind Stewart. They got a lot of momentum on that top side. It's anybody's game right now.
Tony Stewart in the middle there doesn't have a lot of drafting help. Has trying to get back in line. Blaney won't let him. Edwards won't let him. Hamlin won't let him.
Here comes the Dodge surge on the top.
Newman, Bush, Montoya, 3 Dodges hooked up nose to tail. Trying to reel in the Chevy brigade on the left side.
Just about the time you thought you had the top lane clear, here comes the top lane back right now. And Jimmy Johnson and Gordon got to deal with the really strong Penske cars right now.
3 laps to go with this crowd of over 150,000 on their feet. Give a call to Tony Raines in that wreck a little while ago, still hanging on to the 96 car. Great job for Tony Raines back there in the DLP Chevy.
Tony Stewart kind of gets shuffled up in the top lane behind Kurt Busch right now. This is the very first time for the COT cars, Andy. I mean, what are these drivers going to do, you know? I never drove one of these cars before, and this is the first time for these guys here. What type of move you want to make, I think, is a big question.
Well, it looks to me like Jimmy Johnson's got it, pretty much in hand, but you got to think that Jeff Gordon sitting back there, he's making his plans for the last lap here.
Well,
2 laps to go.
Right now with 48 car Jimmy Johnson leading, on the last lap, he's going to have to throw his teammate away. He's just going to block these guys off. And heck with the relationship right now. When I see the white flag, it's game over, baby. I'm looking after myself right now.
When they tested here, they said we do not want to be the lead car in the draft because you're a sitting duck. Today, it's worked both ways. You've been able to stay there. You've been passed pretty easily. What are these guys going to do?
That last time by, you saw the 22 car, Dave Blaney, really give a good shove right in front of Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon has really got a good shove on Blaney that time, and that's what Gordon needed.
Jimmy Johnson doing a great job right here, using that draft to his advantage, watching that mirror, keeping that 24 car square in his bumper.
197 miles an hour. They take the white flag 3 wide. Here comes Tony Stewart up on the high side.
And the white flag is out. It's waving 3 wide.
Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon trying to hang on the bottom, drafting help from behind with Blaney in the Toyota. Up high, Tony Stewart gets help from Casey Kane.
That's 4 wide down the back straightaway. Hamlin on the inside.
Here comes Gordon on the outside.
Jeff Gordon has moved up in front of Tony Stewart to get the push by. Jeff Gordon, a 5-time Talladega winner. He knows how to get it done. He hung at the back of the pack all day long. He pulls up, and Tony Stewart pushes him by as they come down. Jeff Gordon trying to hang on. 2 wide, 3 wide behind him. Gordon on the bottom of the racetrack. Jimmy Johnson second, and Jeff Gordon takes the win at Talladega.
Unbelievable, the car tomorrow. Great race at the very end. Man, what a move out of Jeff Gordon. He just threw his teammate out, went for it by himself.
I knew he had something up his sleeve. I know what it was.
Steve Letarte said, stay calm.
Look at the emotion of Jeff Gordon in the car.
What a win for Jeff Gordon.
But you did it for us, buddy. You're the man. This team is awesome. Way to hang out all day. Woo! Man, I'm excited.
He better be excited. I'd be excited too. All his teammates work together. Help him win that race, guys.
He got the point lead too.
4 points.
Jamie Little.
Now joined by crew chief Steve Letarte. How about that finish? You guys hung back the whole day, Steve. Talk about the plan and how it was executed.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Shaq and Alice and everybody on that Lowe's Chevrolet team. We work close together, and it's hard when we come to a place like this because that 48 was going to be hard to beat. But we're all running for a championship. Hopefully, we work together the rest of the season real good. But it's great. Guys in DuPont Chevrolet did a great job. 550 employees at Hager Motorsports provided unbelievable speedway cars. Kept our chins up to the qualifying. Knew we'd be going to the race, and the driver pulled us through.
You guys had that penalty here on pit road. How did you keep your driver calm in this game?
That's the beauty of working with a 4-time champion. We usually don't have to keep him calm. We just got 11 or 9 laps to go. We got really lucky with the yellow, and we're going to seem to get lucky this year. We need to quit making mistakes, so we don't need so much luck. But race 410's over. Hopefully, we have 6 more good ones.
And Rick Hammond, the owner down here, pumping his fist in the air, guys. Very happy crowd as they took over the points lead.
Jeff Gordon, folks, led 1 lap all day long. Actually, he Nextel Cup and the first sweep at Talladega. Yes, he won back in April since Dale Earnhardt did it in 2002. Dale Earnhardt Jr. did it in 2002.
Man, what a race. What a racetrack.
Lucky they stayed patient for a long time. And finally they turned it loose and they said it's time to run right now.
And here is our Chevy winning moment. Jeff pulls out in front of Tony, and watch this move by the 24 car. Across the track in front of the 20, another Chevrolet for Tony Stewart to get that push by in the draft.
And that's when they say it's each guy for himself right there. And Jeff Gordon is shot right out in front of his teammate, Jimmy Johnson, in front of Stewart. And you know what? It kind of worked out because they finished first and second. They didn't get hung out too bad there.
Dave Blaney, great effort, finishing in third in the Toyota. Hamlin fourth, Newman fifth, Mir sixth, and Kurt Busch seventh with Tony Stewart then back in eighth position. Tony Raines, a great top 10 finish in ninth, and Reed Sorensen in 10th position. Gordon's fifth win in 2007, the first time he's won since the middle of June at Pocono. He becomes the all-time winningest driver in restrictor plate competition, his 12th win on the plate tracks. Let's go down to victory lane and Alan Augusta.
And a wide smile on Jeff Gordon's face as he goes to give a big soaked hug to Carl Rick Hendrick. Jeff, how did you get to the front?
I have no idea. This guy right here builds an awesome race car and has put together a heck of a race team. You know, we laid in the back and we didn't want to have to do it that way, you know, but this car is just a lot of unknowns. It's hairy out there, you know. We just wanted to play it safe until it really counted. And what I don't understand is how I ever got by my teammate, because I was there in behind him and got, you know, a couple pushes, but when the 12, I think the 2 were on the outside of me, I really was just kind of stuck there. But when they got 3 wide, I said, this is my opportunity. I got pushed from the 22, and I went with the momentum. Luckily, when I got high and Jimmy tried to block me, the 20 was there, had nowhere to go. He drilled me, and he's the one that pushed me to the front. So, yeah, that's what you got to do. You got to put that rear bumper in front of those other guys' bumper at the right time. And I got to thank DuPont Pepsi, of course, this awesome-looking race car. Deborah's here, designed it, and we invite all the fans to be a part of this. Hopefully we'll do it again next year. But I don't know where to start, you know. GMAC, Nicorette, all the folks from Georgia Pacific, and Sparkle. Amazing day, man.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. I can keep going if you want. Whoa, yeah.
He's pumped.
All the emotion here of Jeff Gordon, and he takes a 4-point lead over Jimmy Johnson in second place. And we're going to be talking to all these other drivers and be able to get updates from these drivers and what they thought about their race today. What a finish at Talladega. All that and more coming up on SportsCenter over on ESPN. Congratulations to NASCAR Nextel Cup at Talladega race winner and now new chase leader Jeff Gordon, his 6th win at Talladega. Next week the chase for the championship continues, and we head to Charlotte, North Carolina. Coming up next, except on the West Coast, ABC's World News, or your local news over most of these ABC stations. Once again, what an effort. Jeff Gordon, a winner in Talladega. Thanks for watching, folks. ESPN on ABC.